like a defense mechanism. Yeah. It was like, I need to hurt you before you hurt me.
What is up, everyone? I'm your host, Alannized, and this is Noche de Pendejadas, your favorite podcast turned talk show en donde yo traigo a tus influencers favoritos para platicar y posiblemente sacarles sus trapitos al sol. Hoy les tenemos preparado un episodio, amigas, que yo sé que a ustedes les va a encantar, pero antes de que empecemos con el chisme del día de hoy, como siempre, cada episodio is opened up by a musical performance, so please help me welcome performing for the first time aquí en Noche de Pendejadas, Hugo Adrian!
Papi, otro palo más. Dímelo, Hugo Adrián. ¿Qué es la que hay, papi? Papi, a romper. ¿Qué pasó?
La dosis cayó en el jarabe, a que la música suena me hace sentir bien. El humo en el aire ya no deja ver. Ojos tan chiquillos preguntan por qué. Nos miran llegando en pico porte fino, allá por Laredo haciendo efectivo. Se escuchan las ligas tronando en los pinos y con el gordito dando al tiro. Las babies gozando se prenden también, piden las champañas, me voltean a ver. No importa el pasado, que bueno el ayer. Disfruto el momento, todo marcha bien. Y es que ahora me he visto de voz, Burberry, Gucci, Placo son. Como el viejo salí bien cabrón, siempre traemos puesto el sombrero. Toca el cielo con un bad good. Bien entrados ya traigo un fiestón. La plebada trae un corridón pa' seguir a gusto en el avión. Piste al chavalada, que la noche no se acaba. Y es que ahora me he visto de voz, Burberry, Gucci, Placo son. Como el viejo salí bien cabrón, siempre traemos puesto el sombrero.
Papi, you know how we do it. Time is money, G. That's right. Dímelo, Periquin, el verdadero money maker. Papi, la única compañía donde no hacemos artistas. Papi, aquí nosotros hacemos fenómenos. Otro Flow Music.
Wow, amigas, what a way to open up today's show. If you guys want to go ahead and continue supporting their music, ahí les voy a dejar sus links down below para que ustedes vayan and stream toda su música. But with that being said, amigas, let's go ahead and start con el chisme del día de hoy. Please help me welcome my guest tonight, Junior Macías, a.k.a. the Bling.
Yes, bitch.
Hola,
yes.
hola, amigo.
Hello.
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, ¿y usted?
I feel like this interview has been like a long time in the making. Me acuerdo que la última vez que te miré, que fue at Candy Lovers event, me acuerdo que tuvimos una plática brevemente. I was like, I need to have you on my podcast porque me encanta tu historia, me encanta la persona que eres y siento como que allá todas las pendejas deberían conocerte un poquito más. Antes de que empecemos con todo el chisme que les tenemos preparado el día de hoy, quiero empezar con tu día el día de hoy. Cuéntanos cómo fue eso. I know you were stuck in traffic. ¿Te levantaste a qué horas? ¿Vienes desde San Diego? Cuéntanos todo, amigo.
Sure. I woke up, I think it was around like 7 in the morning to help my wife with kids. And then right after that, I had to go to my salon, pack up all my stuff so I can get ready for today. And I left like around like 9:30. Went to Pomona, so I went to like this content creation place to get ready.
Okay.
And then I'm here, and then I was stuck in traffic for like an hour, which was horrible.
Normalmente, amigas, de Pomona hacia el estudio son como 20 minutos. Si hubiera sabido yo que si hubiera hasta Pomona, amigas, lo hubiera invitado aquí que se arreglara conmigo, literal. Pero ¿saben qué? Lo bueno que llegó tarde, pero está aquí el día de hoy. Yo te voy a dar el micrófono a ti para que nos digas un poquito más de quién eres y qué haces.
Well, my name's Junior. I go by the Bling King on all platforms. I do makeup, so I've been in the business for 10 years. I didn't pop off until a year and a half ago. I am a father of 4 kids. I have a girlfriend that's soon to be wife. I am a brand owner. I'm still a working makeup artist, nail tech, hairstylist, and all of that jazz.
Lo haces todo. There's nothing Junior, amigas, no puede hacer. Y yo siento que por esa era una de las razones that I wanted to bring you on the podcast, because I really do feel like you're a multifaceted person. Haces nails, haces makeup, haces hair, eres un papá.
Todo.
Eres todo. No hay una cosa que el Junior no puede hacer, amigas. Entonces yo estoy súper emocionado de tenerlo aquí con nosotros el día de hoy. Aparte de todo lo que haces, amigas, también eres un Macías.
Sí.
Igual que yo, amigas. His last name es igual que el mío. ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde es tu familia?
San Diego. So my mom is from San Diego, but my dad was from Tijuana.
Okay.
Tijuana, but he came over here when he was like
It's very
3,
rare
4.
when I see or I know anyone with my last name. So whenever I do me alboroto, amigas,
I didn't
like,
even know you were Macías.
seremos
I didn't.
primos y uno nunca sabe, ¿verdad? Pero ya vamos a empezar con todo el chisme, amigas. So, para empezar, a mí me gusta empezar con esta pregunta because I really do want to get to know who Junior is. Y siento como que para conocerte un poquito más, necesitamos backtrack to the beginning. Necesitamos saber cómo fue tu infancia, cómo fuiste tú de niño. Y pues cuéntanos, amigo, how was Junior growing up?
Well, Junior growing up, I have always been artsy. So I've always been artsy. I've always actually was a dancer. Me as a child, I struggled a lot.
Anoche estábamos platicando un poquito, y también antes de que empezara toda la entrevista, estábamos platicando de la relación con tus papás, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Do you feel like you were closer to your mom or your dad growing up? ¿Y cómo fue la relación de ustedes in general?
You know what? Growing up, I love my dad.
Okay.
I love my dad. Pero growing up, like every kid needs something different from a parent. But I definitely was more of a mommy's boy. I wanted to be more of a mommy's boy, but I didn't get that. My parents were addicts. So my dad was an alcoholic, and then my mom was a drug addict. That's why I never could get what I needed. Were
you like aware of everything that was going on, or was that kind of more like the normal to you?
To be honest, I was very aware early on. I think I've always been beyond my years. So I knew when I was younger, I definitely knew what they were doing, especially because the environment I was around, it was very cholos, it was very gangs and all of that. So I knew what was going on all around me. My mom wasn't a chola, but she was just addicted to drugs. She got really pregnant very young. And she had her twins at 14 years old.
Oh, so you're not even the only child. ¿Cuántos hermanos son?
No, I have 6 siblings. So I have 3 older, and then I'm the middle, and then I have 3 younger than me.
How was that like? Obviamente nos cuentas de que tu papá was an alcoholic. You grew up with your mom being addicted to drugs. Do you feel like that affected in the way they parented not just you, but your siblings?
Oh, definitely. So we were, they gave us everything.
Okay.
But it was because they wanted to shut us up. That was their way of, I guess, keeping us out of their ear, not having to, like, parent us.
Yeah, like, toma esto, ya déjame en paz.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. It was very hard, it was very hard because there was no structure in the home. There was no consequences in the home. I mean, as a child, don't get me wrong, it was great to not have consequences and
you're like,
things
I'm able
like
to
that.
do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah. It wasn't until later that it really affected me. My whole life was chaos, to be honest. Like, from day to night, my parents weren't really involved in our lives. Believe it or not, it's crazy because now looking back, I I can't believe how uninvolved they were in their kid's life, you know, because my dad isn't the father of the first three, but he did take them on. But, and my mom, you know, so she had total of 7. My dad has 4. And neither of them were like honest, you know, like.
¿Con quién se quedaban o quién los cuidaba
my
majority
grandma.
of the time?
So my whole life, practically, we lived with my grandma in the patio, on the floor, like just blankets. See, like wherever we could fit, because my grandma, they didn't have a room. It wasn't until I got to middle school that I realized what I didn't have. Because as a young child, it was great to not have, you know, authority and etc. Yeah. But when I got to middle school, and I actually put myself in dance. So it's crazy because my dance teacher didn't even meet my parents until my first performance.
Porque no estaban involucrados.
Yeah, because they weren't involved. They didn't, you know. Anyway,
ni sabían lo que estabas haciendo tú, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, they knew what I was doing. They just never.
They didn't care.
They didn't care. I was
oh my God.
fine in their eyes, and so. So it wasn't until middle school that I realized what I didn't have at home when I saw my like peers, you know, like the other students, friends, whatever, or even on the dance team, like their parents are there watching them grow as a dancer, you know, being able to see them do certain tricks that they couldn't do. And then at the end of the year, they're like, oh my God, I can do it. I'm more flexible. I'm more this. They would be involved with the teacher, my dance teacher. They'll be involved with the other parents, you know, or if we had recitals or performances or competition, because I was a competition dancer, I always went with the other family, and my family was never really around.
Did people or like your teachers or your peers, did they ever question en dónde estaban tus papás at that moment?
Oh yeah, and I always lied, you know, because I was embarrassed. Yeah. I was really embarrassed because obviously my parents are not involved, and that hurt me, you know, that they really did. At that age.
Yo pienso que como niño, yo siento que todo eso te afecta, just in the way you are, you know what I mean? Y te lo digo porque te estaba contando que yo también crecí, you know, with my dad, you know, being an alcoholic, you know, he was actively drinking every single day. Llegaba al trabajo con su 6, con su 12, and he would just kind of drink it like so casually. Y para mí, growing up, it almost kind of became the norm. You know what I mean? Like it almost became like, oh, si mi papá lo hace, a lo mejor todos los demás lo hacen también. It wasn't until like later on where you're like, no, that isn't normal, you know? But I do feel like not having my dad so present, siento como que me hizo un niño súper inseguro. I was very insecure because I didn't have that structure that like as a kid you need. Do you feel like that was something you struggled with?
Just like growing up, like realizing that there's rules in life. You know what I mean? Because there was no rules in my family.
In your life.
In my life, there wasn't. You know, everything was, hey, go ahead. You know, it's better for us if you're kind of not around, you know, type of thing. And just like dynamics like that, or working hard for something. It wasn't until after high school that I actually had to work hard for something. It hit me hard because, like, money I would get, they would give me the money. My parents were not, we didn't struggle, like, financially, but we lived in poverty. Now, looking back at it, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everybody wants to be financially okay. That's the biggest issue in a lot of families, you know, and that wasn't the issue in ours, but we still lived in poverty. We still
like you
lived.
guys were kind of, your parents were kind of like not super broke, but kind of just living paycheck to paycheck, just making enough to
they actually made pretty good money.
Oh really?
Yeah.
¿A qué se dedicaban?
Well, my dad, he did cabling, so he was a cable guy. So like actually for businesses, not like internet cable, he did cabling for like
electrician
data,
stuff.
like electrician stuff.
Yeah.
My mom, she makes really good money. And so there was honestly never a reason for us to be paycheck to paycheck or any of that. We just did because of their addictions.
Did you ever get to live, you know, like a very scary, traumatic, you know, moment because of your parents' addictions?
Oh, always. My whole life, even as like 9 years old, 8 years old, 10, I would have to be in the middle of them of their fistfights. Domestic violence, you know, like it was big. My dad would beat my mom like if she was a dude, and my mom wouldn't.
No se dejaba.
No se dejaba, pero también ella empezó. Like my mom loved it. It was like toxic, you know, like she liked it, like almost, you know. And normally, like I would never, you know, women. I'm not saying it's okay or anything. That's not what I'm saying. Pero lo buscó. There was a point. It took a long time though. Like literally we saw them maybe for like a decade doing that. But it wasn't until my older brothers that are not my dad's, they're cholos. So one time, it just took that one time, and my brother literally said, if you hit my mom again, I'm going to knock you out. Because by this time, he's already old enough to defend my mom, And so my dad didn't stop, and my mom didn't stop. And so my dad ended up hitting my mom, and my brother just gave him a good punch and knocked him down to the floor. And my dad, honestly, ever since then, I don't think he put hands on my mom.
That's crazy. Nos cuentas un poquito about your life as a child, living with these types of abuse, living with parents that, were suffering from, addiction. How do you feel like that affected the person you've become today?
It affected me because as I'm growing up, since that's the norm, the chaos is the norm.
Yeah.
Unless there was chaos, it was boring. So I went through the years of being a desmadre, being drama, being rude, being an asshole, being, whatever. But it was also a defense mechanism. Yeah. It was like, I need to hurt you before you hurt me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Type of thing. And especially with me, going through with my mom, because I was beat by my mom, many times, and my dad never beat me. But my mom did, and it was because of the drugs. And I guess she just needed to take it out on somebody, And
what was that like? Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso, Do you remember like a time, or do you remember when it started?
You know what? It was always because my dad did everything. My dad, he was an alcoholic, but he did everything for his kids, which was me and my other siblings, the three youngest ones. And he literally would take us to school. He would do all the paperwork for school, the food. My mom was not like a present mom.
Yeah.
So even though my dad was alcoholic, he did what he had to do for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He was a functional alcoholic.
Yeah, he was a functional alcoholic. My dad used to, when he was working for these cabling companies, he would have to leave weeks at a time, literally Texas and other places, I don't know where else, but they would send him, he would stay, and that was the time that my mom would freak out without my dad, and she would have to do everything by herself, and she wasn't used to that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that was the drugs and I don't know what else, but I remember many times when my dad would leave, and for little things, if I made a mistake, or, like dropping water, or I don't know, just, I can't specifically say what it was, but I did something minor wrong.
But it wasn't anything to really deserve a beating.
No,
It was
not
por
at all.
pendejadas.
No,
literally.
yeah, little kid shit. And there was many times where she would call my dad on the phone, and my dad would be on the phone, and she would be beating me, hitting me. Like, and my dad, my dad just on there, what the F are you doing to him? Leave him the F alone. I'm going to kick your ass, when I get home. Like, things like that, And so, so she would slap me around, sometimes punch. It happened maybe a good, maybe 6-7 times on a hand that I can count. But like things like that.
Do you feel like your mom would do it to get a reaction out of your dad, especialmente porque a lo mejor en ese tiempo se iba él, and she would suspect or think in her head like things que no eran?
Oh, sí, and more because my dad took my three older siblings in, like he raised them, he helped financially, etc. He didn't really raise them in bases like emotionally or tell them what to do or anything, but they were cholos, you know. So my mom had to pay a lot of money, which meant my dad had to help her. Yeah. There was always issues, so there was always a fight of my kids and your kids type of thing.
I get you, yeah.
Always. And it wasn't really spoken, but that's what it was. So my dad was very present for us and, doing la maneras que tienen que hacer, And my older brothers didn't have that. And I think my mom, collectively with all her shit that she has going on and the drugs and their own, relationship issues, on top of that, my dad didn't like to buy, clothes for them or,
No son mis hijos.
Things like that. It wasn't said, but we knew what it was. Yeah. And my mom didn't like that. So my mom, I honestly believe that my mom didn't like that.
Yeah.
You know, and so she took it out on me. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
That's what I feel, you know,
So-
because my dad treated me really well. You know, growing up, he wasn't present, but I feel like because of that and her kids didn't have that, I feel like maybe that's why I got that.
Obviamente nos cuentas de que tu mamá le llamaba a tu papá while she was beating you. Llegaba tu papá from these work trips y ¿qué pasaba? Was that like a thing that you would be scared for when your dad would get home?
You know, I actually liked when my dad stuck up for me over the phone. Yeah. But you know what? It wasn't until later that I realized that it created it built resentment. I built resentment towards my dad because when he would come home from those trips, it would be like nada pasó. Because it was a week later, it was 5 days later. You know
like
what I mean?
Ya contentos de verse,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so there was never, after that, nothing ever got
like you never
done.
followed through.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I wanted my dad to beat her but I
regáñala,
wanted
dile
somebody.
algo,
I wanted somebody to protect me, and my dad wasn't that.
How was your relationship with your siblings? Like, se llevaban bien? Were you close to even the siblings, like your half siblings, or cómo fue toda esa dynamic?
You know what is so crazy? We all didn't even have a relationship, and we all lived together. Like, te lo juro, like, we lived in the same home, but not a high.
Cada quien en su mundo.
Yeah, everybody into their corners, and literally, I wouldn't talk to my siblings. Maybe because there was just so much like anger in the house. You know, there was so much like turmoil and like just trauma. Like, honestly, we would all like zone out and be in our own worlds. I didn't have any relationship with any of my siblings, and it's so sad.
To this day?
It's better, honestly, but no, like, I don't really have a relationship with my siblings.
It's more like eres mi hermano, eres mi hermana.
It's more of like, I see you when I see you. Like, yeah, my sister just had a baby, my younger sister, and we're getting closer, and it's I'm trying to like what do you call it?
Like bring you guys together.
Yeah, like I'm trying. Like, honestly, like, we're a lot better now. Like, don't get me wrong. I go over there maybe like once every like couple weeks, you know. But at the same time, they live with my parents, and it's trauma for me. You know, it's like when I'm around, it's like the ruckus. I hear the ruckus, and I'm like, oh, it's like familiar. It's like, oh shit.
¿Cómo es tu relación con tus papás nowadays? Are you as close? Do you feel like you guys are fixing the relationship? Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso.
No, you know what? There's not really any fixing the relationship. My mom is now drug free. She's been for like a year and a half, I think.
Qué bueno.
Yeah, my dad, he actually 2 years ago, I took him to a sobriety place, and he's been 2 years clean. So, I mean, it's very different, but there's just no relationship there for me with them. You know what I mean? Like, their relationship is a lot different, which I'm so grateful for. But, you know, when my dad went to rehab, I really thought when he got out, I was going to get the dad that I always needed. Yeah. Or vice versa, even with my mom. Like,
que todo iba a ser perfecto, pues.
Yeah, like, you know, like, I think I created a story, you know, like a fantasy.
Yeah.
I said, oh, when my dad gets clean and my mom gets clean, they'll be able to be parents to me. Yeah. And that didn't happen. You know, it hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. And now that you brought it out of me, yeah. So like, our relationship isn't what I want, but it is what it is. They're doing great. They're drug free. That's all I can ask for. But there's really not a relationship. Yeah. You know.
Quiero platicar un poquito about you being a parent. Do you feel like, you know, the way you were raised, do you feel like that affected the way you parented?
Definitely.
¿En qué manera?
You know what? I'm a really good dad, and I think it's not that I think. I know it's because I didn't have good parents. And what's crazy is that even when I was younger, I wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to be a dad. Ever since I was probably like 13, you know, like, I've always wanted a kid. And I knew I would. And I always told myself, like I was very resilient. But I always, like I said, like, I was beyond my years, that I knew what was like wrong with my parents. Like, I was like, you're not supposed, you know, like, you're supposed to be there for me. You know, you're supposed to, you know, like,
¿Cómo estás, mijo?
Yeah,
Emotionally, physically, you have to be there present.
yeah, like present. You got to build a relationship with your child. It's not about just having a child and leaving them out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, hablamos un poquito de tu relación con tus papás. Yo quiero platicar de tú en la escuela. ¿Cómo eras tú en middle school and high school? Do you feel like you were a very, desmadroso kid? Were you smart? Were you popular? ¿Cómo fuiste tú en la escuela?
Well, elementary and middle school, well, throughout my whole school, I was considered special ed.
Okay.
Because I was dyslexic. I had a comprehension disorder. I had ADHD. I had like the opposite defiant disorder, like todo. Like, I had it all. And so I wasn't smart in school, and I was aware of that. I was aware of that. And growing up in school was very hard for me. I was bullied a lot.
Because of that?
Oh yeah, definitely. They would say, because it was called RSP back then, and I would have to be taken out of the class every day for special stuff, and they would be like, "Oh, you're retarded, stupid people class," because it's RSP.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like they would just.
¿Y
make
cómo te
fun.
sentir eso? Like in the moment, how would that make you feel? Like obviously,
Like I was different.
Yeah.
Like I was different, and honestly, I felt it. I felt it. Like I couldn't comprehend what you could comprehend in school, academics. You know what I mean? So it definitely, not only the problems from home, that was another insecurity to like pile on top of me, was that I was not good enough. I was not smart. And I knew that. I did.
So tú cuando ibas a la escuela, obviamente, tenías tus clases normales, te sacaban. Because people knew that you were in these special classes, do you feel like that made it hard for you to make friends?
Yes,
¿En qué
definitely. You know what? It was hard, but it was more of because I was different. I was feminine too.
Yeah.
Like on being a boy that's feminine on top of being a RSP student, classified as
Era hasta más chinga.
special ed.
Yeah.
So I would always get clowned on. I was always getting bullied. It was definitely hard. One time when I didn't do nothing. I really didn't do nothing to get bullied, but I was with my friends, and I only had girlfriends because the girlfriends were the only ones that came up to me and was like, "Hi." And I was with my girlfriends, and they would just push me around, call me faggot, call me gay, joto, everything that you can think of. I mean, and that was a daily. It wasn't like just, one-time thing.
¿Y tú te defendías,
or
or was it kind of more like you would just let it happen?
I would just let it happen.
Quiero platicar un poquito más about your learning disabilities. You go through school with these learning disabilities. Did it ever get easier for you to like captar lo que tenías que captar en la escuela, or was it always very much like ni sabías a lo que ibas?
You know what? I was an average student, so I never was an AAB student. I would get it. I would get it enough to pass the class.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? But I was never excelling. I was always far below average. And to be honest, even now, like, I don't think I had a learning disability, to be honest. It was, and I talk about this all the time, it was actually my childhood.
Yeah.
It was just the trauma. It was the trauma and the environment I was in and the neglect that I was going through. So what do teachers think it is? They
classify it
as a learning disability. It's not that. I was just delayed because I was neglected for so many years. I don't have a relationship with my parents. I'm stuck watching TV and just doing nothing at home and just witnessing domestic violence, drugs, getting shot at my house, drive-bys, the cholos, the
that
trauma.
would happen to you guys?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Cuéntanos de eso. Wait. I want to know about that. How was that like as a kid, living a drive-by, living, that type of lifestyle?
Yeah, all my family were into the gang life. And there was a time when we were outside and all my brothers, my cousins, todos mis primos, they were outside and a rival gang came. And I was outside with my dad and my little sister. And all we hear is the gunshots, boom, 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 boom. I didn't hear them, actually, to be honest, because I just saw everybody running. We were out in the driveway, and my dad grabbed me in one hand, grabbed my sister in another hand, and booked it, and we went into the patio, and we had like an outside patio.
Yeah.
So we ran from the outside driveway into the outside patio, and all we saw was dust, like, and it was todos los plantas, you know.
Did anyone
like,
get hurt?
No, thank God,
Thank
nobody.
God, yeah,
but
yeah.
there was like maybe like 15 cholos there, you know what I mean, and they were just shooting, and all of the cholo friends and everybody were just, all you can see is like the dust and the plants everywhere in the air, and then you just saw like all the cholos jumping into the patio. You know what I mean? And then the cops came and
That's
did what they
freaking
did.
crazy.
And yeah, so.
You know, viviendo eso, did you ever in your childhood or just in your life in general, did you ever think like, oh, you know what? También yo voy a vivir una vida así. Or do you feel like as a kid you were like, you know what? Esta no es una vida que yo quiero vivir, yo quiero algo mejor. Or how was that for you, you know, growing up in that environment?
You know, I was actually very traumatized by police for a long time. Long time, because there's so many times the SWAT team would go to my house. En el medio de la noche. Like, literally, like, we would see flashlights. I would wake up as a child. Wake up to flashlights and a gun to my head as a kid. And they're telling everybody, we're raiding the house, you know, get in the sala. And as a kid, you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Te asustas,
So
yeah.
for many years, actually, like even to this day, like I panic cuando la policía está like atrás de mí, or it doesn't matter. It's a trauma. I'm not doing nothing wrong.
What was the moment for you that you're like, you know what, yo no quiero vivir una vida igual que esta?
I've always said that, even as a child. There wasn't really like a pivotal like moment, like I don't want to be like them. I've always known I don't want to be like them. Even as a child, like I knew, you know, like, and like I've always been resilient in that way. So like I've always known. There wasn't honestly like a one time thing. It's just throughout my whole life, I already knew. And I didn't even like my own family.
Was there ever moments where, like, you know, your siblings or just the kids around you would be like, oh, come on, like, get in the gang, or tú también vente? Or did that never happen?
No, that actually never happened. Thank God that my brothers never did. But also, too, I'm a feminine boy, so they wouldn't even ask me.
They wouldn't even bother. They were like,
they
no,
were
vete pa' allá.
ándale.
Quiero hablar de un tema un poquito más sensible. You know, anoche estábamos platicando y me estabas platicando que a los 8 años te sucede algo que te cambia la vida por completo, ¿verdad? Quiero que me platiques un poquito más de eso, if you feel comfortable. Cuéntanos cómo pasó. Do you remember the first time it happened? Y cómo te cambió la vida that situation?
Definitely, actually. I was 8 years old, and it was my mom's sister's boyfriend.
Okay.
So my uncle, so I do remember that time. I was 8 years old. He brought me into the room, and he made me do things to him. And after that, it didn't happen for a couple years.
After that first time?
After that
Okay.
first time, it didn't happen for maybe about because I was 8. Yeah, it didn't happen for like a couple years, almost maybe 2 to 3 years after that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it wasn't until it happened the second time that I remembered the first time, because my mind
blocked.
Yeah, my mind trauma blocked. And it was crazy because when the second time happened 2 to 3 years later, it was like a movie. Like I remembered everything, details. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Before we even get going, I want to say I'm sorry that happened to you. ¿Cómo fue eso para ti, you know, en el momento? What was going in your head? Did you realize that wasn't okay? Or you as a child where you're like, oh, I don't even know what I'm doing?
Yeah, no, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't even know whether it was okay or not okay at that age. But at the same time, all my like little cousins and stuff we would watch porn. No lie.
Yeah.
Because we're not chaperoned. No one's taking care of us, and like all the cholos and and like my other cousins, they would have porn. And as little kids, my older cousins would put the porn on, and we would be watching there.
Did you ever speak up about what was happening at home?
No, eventually, when I was in high school, I did. But the reason why I didn't was because, like I told you, I was afraid of police, right? And there was a lot of like the cholo life, the chaos. After the first time, it happened many times after that. Once that second time happened, after 2 to 3 years later, it happened a lot of times. But one of those times, there happened to be a raid at my grandma's house. And my tia lived about 3 to 4 houses down. The man made me do certain things again. And my house was being raided. So when I came out of the house, I saw, and I didn't want to go home because I knew. What he did was he had a porn magazine, and he rolled it up, he put it in my pocket, and he said, "I'm gonna tell them what you're doing." So that became a bigger trauma for me, like with the whole police thing. And so he wrapped it in, he did that. So it was a threat. So I didn't talk about it. He had raped me years later because all of this was like molestation, doing things to him, like así, right? And then he raped me this one time. It happened a couple times, but this one very time, it was just very harsh, you know? And it was the first time that he did it. And after that, he started to go to church. And my tia and him started the religious shit. Yeah. Very Christian, very this, very that. I need to go to church. I need this, I need that. Anyway, so years pass after that, right? And they're going to church and etc. And I actually, I didn't believe he was changed. Yeah. But maybe he won't do it again, if that makes sense. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I never thought he was changed. I just thought, okay, as long as he's not trying it, doing it to me. I'm probably like 15 years old. Jersey Shore was on. I was watching Jersey Shore in my room, and he tried it again after years. And that's when and we were living with my grandma, and that's when I said enough's enough. And so I went to the police by myself.
So ni a nadie le confiaste lo que estaba pasando.
Well, I did. Oh, well, actually, let me tell you. Let me skirt back a little bit. After that time that he tried to do it after many years, when the final straw for me, I went to his stepdaughter, which was my tia's daughter. And I told her everything that would happen. And she believed me, but she took me to the church. And the pastor said, I don't want nothing to do with this. And I don't want that in my church because he's a member of the church. Yeah. That broke me, you know, like I'm coming to a pastor and, you know, we're trying. And what they were literally trying to do was not go to the police. Yeah. They were trying to handle it into the church. Pues, yeah. And it didn't work. So I stopped talking to those family members because they were his family. His part of his family. And so I finally got to the point where I was just so depressed. I was suicidal. I was just going through it. You know, I was in high school. I was getting bullied. My parent, you know, a lot of shit was going on. And so I decided to go to the police, and I went.
¿Cómo fue eso?
It was hard. It was super hard because I knew what was going to happen after that. Yeah. You know, like my family's cholos. So I was protecting them. I was like, I was thinking about them. I don't want my brothers to have to go to jail again. Or what if they do something like, I know they all have guns, you know, like so I'm so I'm just thinking a lot of things can go wrong. You know, I'm not thinking about me. And then I'm also protecting his children because he has like an autistic daughter. That's a lot younger than me. Yeah. And then
you're thinking about everyone but yourself.
And so I was thinking about, they're gonna be fatherless. Like, you know, I was just thinking about that. And so it was just hard. It was very hard, but I ended up going to the police. You know, he had secret compartments in his house. You know, like he created secret compartments with toys. Oh, and I knew everything because obviously he was doing all of this to me. You know what I mean? And so yeah, all the secret compartments where things were, you know, things that obviously that it's not happening to anyone else. They're not going to know. And when they went, they raided his home, they found everything.
So tú llegas a la delegación, you know, you go to the cops, les dice lo que está pasando, they go over to the house, o cómo pasó?
So after school one day, I literally took my ass on a bus and I freaking took the bus to a police station because I didn't want... There's drugs at my house, there was guns at my house, and the cholos, I'm not going to bring the cops to my house. So I went, I reported it, I did the report, they did their investigation. I was underage, so then they automatically call my mom. They tell my mom what happened, and
How did they react? ¿Cómo reaccionaron tus papás con la noticia?
I was actually very resentful towards my parents because, to be honest, yes, I had the final straw, but it was really in my head, I was calling out for my parents.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe this will change them. I literally, like, you know, like I said, I
Pa' que miren lo
created,
que en vez
I
de-
created
yeah.
like this
This fairy tale, this
fairy
story.
tale.
Yeah.
I said, oh, maybe this is going to make
timeline.
them
Yeah.
like be my parents now.
Van a ver que en verdad está sufriendo, what really is going on because they're not present, then they're going to want to become present. Yeah.
Yeah. And so obviously, but then really fast, it didn't happen the way that I wanted it. My mom, obviously she had her moment of crying, but then it was all about her. You know, like it turned into, oh, I'm such a bad mom. How could I? Which that's normal, you know.
Yeah.
But it became more of a sob story about her for the first day. Like, oh, how are you? You know, but after that, it was about her. And then my dad, it was more about, oh, I'm going to do this. And I was protecting my dad.
Yeah.
So it was really not like them paying attention to me. The only thing that I got was, how come you didn't tell us? You know, and it's like, now looking back, it's like, how can any child be open enough to even tell this type of family?
And especially, you know,
With
la
everything that's
relación
going
que
on.
tenías ya con tus
Yeah, and then
papás.
my mom beat me. My mom's rude, you know. And my mom, you know, and my mom, don't get me wrong, when she was good, but when she was more bad than good, you know. But and it was because of the drugs, you know. But so I would never like be open.
Yeah.
You know, my dad didn't even protect me against my mom.
Did he go to jail or cómo pasó todo
Yeah,
eso?
you know what? Thank God I got some justice, you know, I did. So before, my tia has another child, not with that man, but she has another child, and she was into the church too, but she was more on the side of let's get him, you know, like I want to help you, and she's the only one that did help me at the time. And so she contacted the detectives because they were actually going to throw out the case. They were really going to throw it out. They said, we have no evidence. Yes, we have the compartments and the sex toys, but it's a he said.
Yeah.
There's no actual evidence. You can't, you know, and he had peepholes in the house, all throughout the house. He had peepholes in the showers, into the hallway where his room was, because that's where he would make me leave, you know, like things like that. So my cousin, she reached out to the investigators and was like, no, we need to do something. What can we do?
Yeah.
And so finally they schemed up a plan with the detectives, and they did like a wiretap to the phone. And so he was into church at this time, and he was an usher. He was helping, agarrando el dinero y todo. And something I just want to throw out there is after he had raped me for the last time and wanted to, and then my last straw, that last event, where right before that he told me that I needed to go to church and repent of my sins. Es el mismo
Hijo
día.
de su puta madre,
Es el mismo
yeah.
día que él hizo eso. That he tried to, my last straw. Before he even did it, right? In front of them, mi tías y todo. He said, he's like, you need to go to church. And he grabbed my fucking hand in front of my tía. And so I didn't let go because, I don't want to
Make it obvious.
make it obvious,
weird.
you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you need to come to church with us today, you know? And, you know, I just want to throw that out there. Pero, yeah, so they did the wiretap, and they said Junior is suicidal. He tried to commit suicide yesterday. Whatever the case, they made up this whole story, this whole scenario. And then she said, please just, if you are a man of God, and if you are trying to be different, not
better,
and whatever, like todo lo que está haciendo, no?
Lo estaban chuleando, pues.
Exactly,
para que
yeah.
sacara
They're giving him what he
yeah.
wanted, you know, like, okay, God believes you, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so she said, did you do the X, Y, and Z? Did you, all of these not dates, but they said did you do this to him?
Yeah.
Did you rape him? Did you...
X, Y, and Z. Pues
you
todos
know,
los detallitos.
Todos los eventos, you know, like, and he said, yeah. And so he said, I'm sorry. And then he even said, I was there. I was there for it. And so they even put me on the phone. So I had to still even talk to this man afterwards.
How was that like?
I knew what the reward was at the end. So, and I knew it needed to be done. So I did it.
Yeah.
Not that I wanted to, obviously not. Pero el pinche cabrón still said, oh, maybe we could go play soccer afterwards. Or maybe we can, yeah.
Like thinking he's like, oh,
Yeah.
we're going to get past this.
Exactly. We're going to get past it, you know. And no, they found him a week later because he was on the run.
Okay.
And they took him
So
to
se dio
jail.
cuenta that they were tapping into the call, or cómo pasó? ¿Cómo
Once he got arrested, then he knew.
But then how was he on the run? Like, obviamente quería ir a
Because
jugar
they were already
soccer.
looking for him. They were already looking for him, and my tia was hiding him.
Oh, eso es lo que te iba a preguntar.
So he was
your tía...
not at the house because they were already looking for him. The case was going to get thrown out, but they were doing the investigation.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to be involved with that. So obviously he was on the run.
Quiero platicar de tu tía. You know, obviamente she's with your tío. Was she like not believing anything that was being said?
Yeah. Yeah, in the beginning it was a lot of, my kids don't have a father. And to this day, like I have resentment towards her, or vice versa, or whatever. And don't get me wrong, like I've forgiven these people, because I had to, for me. But that man ended up doing 8 years in prison. He got 10, he did 8, but he got a lower sentence because when throughout all of this process, she asked me, and she guilt tripped me, and said my kids don't have a father, etc. And yeah, she in the beginning she thought I was lying, but once the recording came out and it was true, he admitted to everything. Then she could no longer say I was lying.
Yeah.
But after that, she asked me to write a letter to the judge, and I fell for it.
Nunca los volvido a ver. Did they get back together, your tío and your tía?
Well, he's out of jail now, and they live together. So, I mean, she says that they're not together, but they live together.
Thank you so much for opening up about this, because yo sé que es algo muy traumatic, to you and to anyone watching at home. If you guys are watching this and you're going through a similar situation, amigas, no se sientan culpables ustedes. Ustedes no son los culpables. Please speak up to someone you guys trust, to your parents, because esto en verdad no está bien. And if it's happening to you, a lo mejor le puede estar pasando a otra persona. And está bien que tú, you finally build the courage to finally speak up, porque como tú dices, tú ya querías darle un hasta aquí, and I'm so glad que tú tuviste tu justicia. Your innocence were taken away from you sin tú queriendo, aunque se agarraste at the end, that like liberation of like, what, está en la cárcel. Pudiste tú tener ese closure with that. Hablamos de esto. After going through this traumatic, event, ¿cómo sientes que a ti te afectó as a person and just to the person who you became moving forward?
Well, throughout high school, I was very mean. I was very, because this all was happening literally on my whole high school and my elementary, but into high school, it really affected me a lot. That's why I ended up coming out about it, because it wasn't until high school that it affected me a lot.
¿Por qué?
Mentally, I was just so insecure. I was so, I was experimenting too. I didn't know if I like boys, if I like girls. I didn't. So it did affect me, a lot. And at that time, being confused on, am I gay?
Yeah.
A big part of the reason why I was feminine was because I didn't trust men.
Yeah.
So I was always around women, so I naturally became feminine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I would only hang out with my primas and etc. And so then I only had girlfriends and whatever. It just kept going on from there. But it definitely affected me, because mentally I wasn't there in high school, and that's a big regret. And to this day, it's like I couldn't even enjoy my last 2 years of high school because I was dealing with the courts. I was dealing with all the trauma.
Yeah.
And it did.
Nos platicas un poquito that in that time you were experimenting, trying to figure out what you liked, who you were as a person, because te dejaron en un lugar donde estabas tú hasta confuso de quién eras tú como una persona. How was that process like? How was the process of finding who you were, your sexuality as a person? ¿Cómo fue todo eso para ti?
Obviously experimenting with men, obviously with guys, and I'd get the attention or whatever the case was. But I've never wanted to be with a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But sexually, because at 8 years old, it's crazy because it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter, because when I went to therapy, I was confused. I ended up going to therapy, but I learned that at a young age, starting out at 8 years old with only a male, your body is gonna naturally
Want it.
react.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're into a male or into a female. You are too young to even know.
What was a moment for you where you're like, you know what, this isn't what I want. I don't want to be with a man. I don't see myself being in an emotional and in a physical relationship with a man.
It was in high school when I tried, when I
¿Y no
was
te gustó?
experimenting, and I didn't. The chemistry wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, sexual act, and that's it. Peace out. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was never a connection. There was never a, ooh, you're hot. What's up? You know, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was more of like, I learned what I learned, and my body reacted to it, and that was that.
You know, ya para terminar esta plática, once again, I want to tell you thank you so much for trusting me and for coming on my platform and like talking about this, porque siento que es una conversación that needs to be had. What's a piece of advice you can give to someone who's currently going through this or who has gone through, you know, this type of abuse?
My advice to you is, well, first, I would tell you this. You're going to be okay. It's going to be okay, and I know it's hard to hear that in the moment. Because I really wanted someone to tell me everything was going to be okay. I didn't have that luxury or family or friends or nothing. But take a deep breath. Listen to your heart.
Yeah.
Listen to your heart, because I've always known it's just, I just didn't have the balls. You know, back then I just didn't have the balls. I was always thinking about protecting everybody else's peace.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I wasn't really knowing that I was actually disturbing my own peace, and I was continuing to stay disrupted. You know what I mean? Like, I'm disrupted, but yet everybody else is fine. And my advice to whoever's going out or whoever's going through this is to talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be the family, because not all of us have family that we can count on to go to. I didn't. But eventually I ended up talking to my counselor at school, my whatever, pero you just have, when it's the time, you will know, and you just gotta push forward and just, I almost want to tell people, just fucking say it.
Hablamos un poquito de todo lo que has pasado tú en tu infancia, you know, y a los 24 años you start therapy. Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso. Was it intimidating? Was it scary for you as an adult, you know, to seek professional help? ¿Cómo fue todo eso? Do you feel like it helped? ¿Y qué aprendiste tú going through therapy?
I learned a lot. It took years. I did therapy for about 4 years. But when I decided to go to therapy, it was because I had gained over like 140 pounds. I was big. I was in my 300s, you know. I was about 300 something pounds. I was depressed every day, no motivation. I was just at my lowest, I think.
Did your depression ever get dark?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I think that was the darkest that I ever got, was at that point in time. And that's why I gained so much weight. And and by that time I had children. So I had kids, and I did not want them to have a broken dad. By this time, I knew I needed it, and I needed somebody to talk to. Yeah. I really did. And once, after like the first like 2 sessions, I knew that therapist was for me. It wasn't like, oh, and how did that make you feel?
Yeah.
Oh, how did that make you feel? It wasn't that.
It was more.
It was more
reassurance.
interaction. It was more of like, oh my God, I can't believe you went through that. Well, it probably comes from this. You know, like she was trying to help me.
Explaining stuff to you.
Yeah, it was more about explaining, but also like figuring out, or she was at least trying to help me figure out where the core issue came from.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So it wasn't more of like, oh, okay, well, I'll see you next week. Hope you feel better. You know, because I had been to therapists before, and my first therapist, I was like around 17, 18. No, I was 17 because I was suicidal. So the school forced my parents to take me to get psychiatric help. But that therapist was very that. Oh, and how did that feel? How did that feel? So I already kind of knew. Like,
so you went into this therapy session thinking que iba a ser igual.
Exactly. So I gave it a chance. And after the second session, I knew it wasn't what I was given before.
Había
That's what I mean.
escuchado en un video tuyo, you know, and I feel like a lot of people, whenever you talk about, o cuando te expresas de esta manera, siempre hay mucha gente que a lo mejor a veces se ofenden or they have much to say. But you were talking about how you really do feel like depression is all mindset, right? Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso.
When you are in a dark space and etc., we allow that to take over.
Yeah.
And that's what causes our depression,
Yeah.
is that we allow, that's the key word, is allow the darkness to come in and to take over. And then we no longer have the drive, we gain weight. We are in our room all day. We don't want to do nothing. And that's what I really mean about we choose to
be
stay
depressed. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes, I understand where the backlash I get from it, but until you go through it and until you realize what I'm saying, you won't get it. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get exactly what you're saying, because I'm exactly the same. Yo pienso que una persona, you know, I feel like it's okay to feel sad,
Yes.
to allow yourself to feel an emotion. But when you make that feeling like your whole life, when you dwell on that, when you really make that like, oh, I'm depressed and like my life's horrible, and like you keep being so negative at everything life throws at you, pues tú te estás permitiendo seguir estancado en ese mismo lugar. You know what I mean? Like I always say this too. Yo siento, apenas acabo de perder a mi abuelito, and because I've always struggled, thank you, because I've always struggled with depression, and because I know what it's felt like to be stuck in a place donde tú te sientes como que no puedes salir out of. Yo me acuerdo cuando empezó, you know, when I started my whole grieving process, yo me acuerdo that I was telling myself, and people online were like, Alan, you know, it's okay to be depressed, it's okay to be sad. And I was like, I know it's okay to feel those emotions. Whenever I'm sad, I'll cry. Whenever I feel some type of way, I'll let myself feel that type of way, pero no me voy a dejar yo estar en ese mismo lugar all day, because como tú dices, that's how depression gets elongated. That's how you become depressed.
Yeah.
You know, ¿qué fue ese momento para ti? Obviamente nos cuentas that you were going through a very hard, you know, depressional state. What was that moment, or what happened that made you kind of switch your mindset?
Literally, one day I got tired.
It's tiring being depressed.
One day I got tired of being depressed. And it was literally like a bloop. Like we were living off welfare. We were living poor, me and my girl and our kids, like our 2 kids, I think. Yeah. We were just at our lowest. I was selling things on OfferUp that we needed, you know, like literally we needed like
a couch.
Like a couch or a mueble or like the baby formula, like literally, because we were on WIC, so we would get the 6-pack and we'd be like, oh, we'll sell one for now just to get by. And then I'll figure it out, you know, when I need it.
A ver si agarramos más dinerito, nos entra.
Exactly. And then not only that, like, not only were we living really horrible, but just me feeling the way I couldn't keep a job. I had like 20 jobs in a year, you know what I mean? Like, couldn't keep a job. I didn't like authority, you know, like just things. It just wasn't lining up for me, and I gained so much weight. I gained maybe 140, maybe 150 pounds in a year, like in a year span.
That's a
and then
lot.
I kept getting bigger, and I kept getting bigger. And so and then me, I'm all about my looks, you know, because to be honest, growing up, I only had my looks to be proud of, because I wasn't smart, because I had nothing going for me. You know what I mean? I was a retarded person, you know, in high school, etc. So my looks were so important to me, you know, and then getting out of high school. Oh, and then I was a dancer. So physically I was fit. I was a really good dancer. So then
going from being able to dance so good to almost not even.
To gaining so much weight, and then being in this position that I was in, I was just so down. And so the moment for me was literally, I woke up one day after we were doing the same shit.
Yeah.
We were just going day by day, living off welfare, not working, not doing anything, selling things on OfferUp, and literally just, I got tired and I said, I need a job. And you know what? In mi familia, muchos, they use disability, but they're not disabled. They create it.
Yeah.
Okay? And what I mean by that is like, they can go work, pero quieren abusar
Se les hace más fácil
es
quedarse
más
en casa.
fácil. Oh, sí, quiero sección, like
Section
they want.
A,
Yeah,
todo
Section A,
eso,
welfare. I'd rather just stay here. I'm depressed. I'm this and that. So then they got on disability and they stayed there. So that was my mindset at that point in time because I was at my lowest. I started getting disability because I was using that, the trauma, my depression. And don't get me wrong, I was going through depression and all that. But it wasn't to the point where I had to be disabled and not work. Do you get what I'm saying?
Ya lo estabas usando tú como excusa.
Como ellos. I was just doing it like them.
Yeah.
You know? And I realized one day how sad of a life of $700 a month was with kids in San Diego and all the problems that I had. And I said, do I want to live like that? And do I want to live like them?
Yeah.
And literally a day later, I literally stopped. I stopped the disability process. I was getting checks from disability. I stopped the disability process. And then I got a job at United Healthcare, 9-to-5 job. I worked there for like 3 years and I stayed there.
Do you feel like after going to therapy, and after seeking this professional help, do you feel like your mental health, got better?
Oh, yeah. So that was actually the first part of my transformation. I call it my transformation because I needed to fix my head before I could fix my body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I was depressed because of my body. So after I'm not going to say fixed, but after I came to peace with what I went through, I knew it was time, then I could go and fix my body.
Yeah.
And so I just was tired and I got the job, like I said, and I just did my work that I had to do.
Did things end up getting better cuando empezaste a trabajar?
Yes, but it was only a matter of time before it started crashing down again. Because I thought the first round of therapy, I said, ooh, I'm good.
Yeah. You're like, I'm
life
better.
is good.
Yeah.
I'm better. I'm on top of the world. I got a regular job. Literally, we were renting a townhome.
Yeah.
I was on. I got out of the low income apartment, and then I went into another like low income, but it was still expensive. It was like almost $2,000 a month. And in San Diego, that's expensive.
Yeah.
And so I was on top of the world for a while. I was doing really well, but then my depression came back. But now it was more of just the aftermath of the trauma and stuff because trauma don't leave you. It don't leave you. I thought my first round of therapy, I thought once I fixed it, it was gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yes, I say like, yes, I say that I had peace with what happened to me, and I do, and I still do, but it still affects me.
Yeah. Quiero platicar un poquito de lo bueno de tu infancia. Obviamente platicamos de lo malo y todo lo que has pasado, but if you can go back in time, what would, and relive a moment or a day, what would that moment be and why? Like a happy moment.
In high school, aside from all the drama and all of the trauma that I was going through, my dancing, I wish I never stopped.
Was that like an escape for you?
Oh yeah, I was really good.
Yeah.
I was flexible as hell. I was really good. I was on the varsity team. I was
Period.
popular for that reason.
Okay.
Because I was the only boy that on the team. And and so I would love to really visit that.
Si puedes tú go back in time, what would you tell the younger Junior?
Ooh. That I've always like I said, I always had regret my high school year because I couldn't enjoy it, and and I didn't graduate. So I didn't graduate on time. I ended up graduating, but I didn't walk. And in my family, literally there's like 30 of us grandkids. So all my tias have a lot of kids. So we're a big family, and there's only maybe like on a hand that I can count how many of us graduated. So a lot of them didn't, and that was such a big regret of mine.
Yeah.
So, and I've been down about that ever since. Like even to this day,
You're like, I'm go back
no
and get
tengo.
my...
I don't have I don't have pictures of like me in like in a cap and gown.
Yeah.
I don't have whatever, right? But I would tell myself that with everything that I was going through in that time frame, I didn't have the best years because of what I was going through, and that's okay. You know, I got to give myself grace because like I always beat myself up like, oh, like, you know, you never get to live high school again, you know? And honestly, it would have been an amazing last 2 years, my junior and senior year, because I was on a varsity team. I was popular at that time. I was at my prime in my dancing. I was in my prime, and that was the only thing I was good at that time.
That was your escape too.
That was because I wasn't good academically. I was in special classes in high school. I didn't have regular classes as my peers. And so dance was my only escape. Yeah. And the only thing in that moment
that you felt like you were good.
I was good at.
Y al fin del día, you know, even if you could go back and tell yourself all this, al fin del día, you turned out amazing. You're living your dreams. Hablamos de tu infancia, pero yo quiero conocer un poquito más a the Bling King, a la persona que aquí tenemos aquí sentados con nosotros. You know, como te estaba platicando, you're a very multifaceted person. Eres papá de 4, eres hubby, you're a makeup, nail, and hair artist. Yo quiero saber de dónde empezó y cuándo empezó your love for all things beauty.
Well, to be honest, I wasn't into the beauty world. I fell into it by accident. And I always say that because, well, I was a dancer in high school, and I was a competition dancer, and in high school I was on the varsity team, and we always had to wear makeup for stage. Yeah. So naturally I was already, that's how literally my career started, was I was good at it. Naturally. Yeah. So I continued to do it. I did the girls' makeup. I did my makeup for stage. And then from there, I just continued to just stick with it. And then I ended up finishing high school, and I continued to do that.
Were you doing like full glams at the time?
At that time, no. It was just foundation and maybe like if it was like it just depended on the piece. Like whatever we were dancing, if it was a grungy dance and black eyeliner, and it wasn't really makeup and lashes. It was just literally just...
to like fit the vibe of whatever you were dancing.
Exactly. But then it turned into full faces.
¿Cómo pasó eso? How did that love for like the full face start?
Well, then that's when I started seeing Jaclyn Hill and all of that. And it became it was a thing at that time. Instagram was big. Yeah. And so then I wanted to jump on the bandwagon, and I started doing it. But I was very inconsistent. Yeah. So then I started working at Sephora after that for a little bit. And that's just literally how it went.
Did you ever get bullied for that? Nos cuentas that for a lot of your life, you know, you would get bullied for being feminine. And then when you really start, you know, applying this makeup on yourself and really enjoy this, was there people around you that would make you feel some type of way where you almost wanted to stop what you were doing?
No, because I only did makeup when I was for recitals. So I wasn't like wearing it daily or going to school like that or anything like that. So no. And by this time, I was really good at dance, and I was popular at that time. So I wasn't getting bullied for that yet.
Hablamos de tu amor for all things beauty, pero yo quiero hablar del amor de tu vida. Tu novia, que es la mamá de tus 4 hijos. Sí. Yo quiero saber cómo se conocieron, cómo empezó esa historia de amor, who made the first move, how'd you guys make it official. Cuéntanos todo.
Sí, pues, so after high school, maybe like 6 months after high school, I started working at Walmart. Okay. And she came in. Well, her sister was already working there, so I knew who her sister was. She came in and nomás miró su pelo. That's all I saw, was her blonde. And at that time, it was ombre hair. Okay. That brown into the blonde ombre.
The balayage.
Algo así. And so I love blondes. So that's the first thing that I saw, in pelo hasta las nalgas. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, shit, her hair's nice. You know? Yeah. And so I was working. I was in the lunchroom. And then that's when I saw her the first time. After that, I was a cashier at Walmart. So I was up on the registers. And then here she comes walking. And I see her finally. And she was very pretty. And so literally I just started organically, like just talking to her and like flirting with her, like scaring her at the register, like being annoying. Being fucking
trying to
annoying.
Get her attention.
Trying to get her attention. And eventually, so I just asked my boss, and I was like, hey, can I train her? And, you know, and so I trained her for a little bit, and then I would just be annoying, you know? Yeah. And so finally I finally got the courage to ask her to go out with me. And I was like, oh, let's go to the movies, you know, or something. Let me take you out. And she's like, oh, I got school. Because she did. She had school at that time, and she was going, like, I think every day or something like that. And so she denied me for, like, 3 to 4 times. Finally, like, the 5th or 6th time, she was like, okay. So then I took her out.
¿A dónde la llevaste?
I don't know. I don't even remember where I took her. Diosito, she's going to get mad that I don't remember.
Ahorita, cuando lo esté viendo ahorita en casita, te va a agarrar
de los huevos.
Literally, she's like, ¿cómo es que no te acuerdas?
I know. I don't know. To be honest,
La
I really
llevas a un
don't.
lugar.
I took her.
A un lugar.
I took her somewhere, and then from there, we just hit it off. It was fine. Maybe like a week later, probably or so, I started deleting all my makeup content off of my social media, off Facebook and off Instagram.
Y en ese entonces todavía no la habías agregado.
No.
Okay,
So I didn't add her. And the reason why I was deleting it was so that way I could add her. That was the hope, I guess, you know? So I started deleting all my makeup and everything. But like I said, her sister already worked at Walmart. So I deleted my all of the posts for makeup. And then one day we were in McDonald's. And we're both on her lunch break. And so I was being cutesy with her. I was like, oh, what kind of guys you like? Da-da-da-da. She's right off the bat. She was like, you know, I already know, right? And I was like, know what? And so my heart sank because I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm sure one of these fucking haters, you know, were telling her things about my makeup, you know, like, so that was a big thing for me that.
So tú se lo querías ocultar kind of to not scare her away,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. I was just trying to not scare her away because at that time, it wasn't as big as a boy in makeup and whatever. And so I didn't want to.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, what woman is going to want to be with the dude that puts on makeup, you know? So, yeah, it is what it is. So she said that and my stomach dropped. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I already know you do makeup. And I was like, and she's like, I like your makeup. And I was like, oh. So then I thought she was going to friend zone me. I was like, oh, fuck.
Aquí quedó esto.
Quedó. She said I like your makeup, so that means fuck.
Like you're like, we're gonna.
She's gonna friend zone me.
Or something.
Yeah. So then I still try, and I was like, oh well, what kind of guys do you like? And she's like, oh well, I like this guy named Junior. He works at Walmart, and he's wearing a blue vest, and that's exactly what I was wearing. And I was like, shut up, stop lying. You know, like I gave her that. I was like, stop, like you're fucking with me now.
Yeah.
She was like, no, I'm being serious. And so we started giggling, laughing, and ever since then, it wasn't an issue for her.
Was it never an issue? Like, did people ever kind of le metían cosas en la cabeza?
Sí, claro, sí.
How was that like for you guys as a couple?
Well, to be honest, thank God, because she comes from a well family, okay? What I mean by that, not wealthy or anything like that, but she comes from a religious family, but that took care of her. You know what I mean? Like, nurtured her. She accepts everybody. She don't care. She's very like open. She's, you know what I mean? Like she's like that. So when other people would tell her, she's like, I don't care. She would literally tell them, I don't care. I know he does makeup. I know. And it was funny because it was the manager,
La gente de ahí, pues el
trabajo. From Walmart, because Walmart, when you go into Walmart, it's very small. So when you work there, you know, everybody wanted her. Todos querían. Hasta los managers. That's how it was.
Yeah.
The managers wanted her. Electrónicas, like electronics, everybody, the apparel guys, everybody wanted the cashier dudes.
Yeah.
Todos querían a ella. She was the new hot thing in the store.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I got her, everybody was like,
¿Cómo?
fuck? Like how? He does makeup and está joto and he's the, you know, whatever. So all of them would tell her things.
Did you ever have like a convo with her? Like, look, I love wearing makeup, but like I'm physically and emotionally attractive to you.
Yeah. Well,
what
you know
was that
what?
like?
You know what is crazy is that I actually didn't even tell her about the whole men stuff, to be honest. Like, it wasn't until I think I had my first kid or second kid with her. Because it never came up. She never actually even questioned me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, she said she didn't care about the makeup thing. She said, I don't care.
She don't care.
She don't care. Obvio, you know? So it never was brought up until later on in our relationship, until when I started to post and the coworkers or things or people. Once I started to take social media serious, that's when it became an issue for me with other people, because now people are telling her things.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, le están metiendo cizaña, pues, to try to break up the relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point, I don't know what happened, but I got to a point, I was like, you know, I've been with the dude before, or like, you know, whatever the case was. And she was like, I already knew that. And I was like, what? And I was literally
She's like,
in
I did
tears.
a background check on you.
Yeah, I was like in
dude.
tears, like literally crying.
Because you were thinking that ahí va a quedar todo.
Yeah. Because, she accepted me, but we never fully talked about thought. You know what I mean? It never came up. And so I was in tears, and she's like, I already knew that. And then I'm in tears, and I'm like, huh? Like, what?
Yeah.
And so I was shocked that she already knew, and whatever the case was. It was really heartwarming because it's like, I was almost like expecting her to be like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, bye. Even though like she accepted the makeup part, but maybe she won't accept the dude part.
Yeah.
Do you get like my past? There's not a lot of women that would be open and be like, oh, okay, well he has, but and continue. They won't want to continue. So I thought that was it. She was like, no, I accept you. I love you for you. I don't ever try to change you, whatever the case is. And that's how
Y ahora ya tiene ojo makeup artist, hair artist, nail artist, y eso nunca le falta, ¿eh? I see you always glamming her. So she's living her best life. A los 19 años, literal, ese mismo año que se conocen, 6 months later, la embarazas.
Yes.
Cuéntanos un poquito de eso.
Well, that was crazy because she came from a religious family.
Yeah.
So... And then to be dating a dude that does makeup was another. It was.
How did her parents take that though?
Her parents in the beginning didn't like it.
Yeah.
But once they got to know me and etc., pues then they accepted it.
aceptaron,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it took years actually for them to accept me. But anyway, so when she got pregnant the first time, it was the first daughter of theirs that is out of their home, and literally she is from Mexicali, so she was born in Mexicali. Lived in Imperial Valley, came to San Diego for years, and then her parents moved back because it got too expensive for them. She stayed here with me. So they thought she was going to go back with them, but Imperial Valley, there's nothing out there. She didn't want to go back, and then we're dating. So
El amor la quedaba,
so she ended up staying with me, moving into my grandma's house with my whole dysfunctional family. And from there it just went.
How did you guys find out that she was pregnant? Did she started getting symptoms, or cómo fue eso?
She did get symptoms, and we took a pregnancy test, and it came out, I think, to be pregnant. And then we went to the doctor, and she hid it from them for 5 months.
Who were the first people you guys told?
My family.
How did they take it?
Oh, they were happy.
They were happy.
Yeah,
they were like,
happy.
Yay!
Yeah, because my family, we all have a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Everybody in my family
You're
has
like, keep
multiple.
adding more.
Oh, yeah. It's big. So they were supportive, but she did keep it a secret for 5 months from her.
From her parents, when she finally told them, how did they take the noticia? Was it
It was hard for them because, they came up really religious, and, they were not married, of course. And then this was her first real relationship, so it was hard for them to accept it.
Se embarazan, 9 months later, tienen a su primer hijo. How was that like? What was the transition like from, being this couple que honestamente no tenían muchas responsabilidades had actually no responsibilities as parents, to them being like, you know what? We're now fucking parents. Our life is going to change. Was it hard to adapt to that new life?
No. Not for me. For her, it was.
¿Por qué?
So for her, it was because she only has one sister. And like I said, they're very sheltered. So they don't do things like how my family does. You know what I mean? And my family, we have so many kids that it was kind of natural. Like for me, I took care of my younger siblings. We all lived in one compound. Literally, there was 30 of us living in one house, in a 4-bedroom house. It was that dysfunctional. So for me, it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
It didn't get hard until I had my second and third.
By the age of 24, tú ya tenías 4 hijos.
Yeah, it was 25.
2 girls.
Yeah.
25.
I was wrong.
Tenías
so 25.
2 girls y tus 2 boys. How was that like? Do you feel like that transition from going from 1 baby to 4 was crazy? Did you guys batallar mucho?
Yes, we did. Like I said, we were selling things we needed to. We did struggle. We lived with my parents for a long time. It was very dysfunctional. And actually, after my second kid, we moved to Tijuana because...
It was getting too expensive?
No, actually, I wanted to get away from my family. So I took a big leap, and I said, literally, everybody's fist fighting in my house. My mom was just on her drugs, and so I don't want this for my kids. I don't want this. So we were on welfare at the time, and we were getting $900 a month. And for about 3 months, we moved to Tijuana. So we had a 2-bedroom there, our rent was like $300. So literally the rest of the month, and I was doing Uber and Lyft actually.
Okay.
And so, it was a struggle going back and forth until we got our first low income housing 3 months later. So
Section
we moved
8
back.
acá?
Not Section 8, just like it's more of like income based.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it's something like that, but it was income based. So we moved back to San Diego, and then that's when I had my other two. So it got
Los tuviste seguiditos.
yes. So my daughter's 8, so I have an 8-year-old, 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and then almost 4-year-old. So yeah, in a couple days she'll be 4. But yeah,
Was that crazy for you guys to have like your children back to back to back? Was it hard?
it was. But you know what? I love my kids. Like I said,
yeah.
I've always wanted to be a dad, but I've always it was hard because I was trying to prove that I could be a better parent than my parents.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, and it's not like, oh, I planned it. Like, oh, like I'm gonna have another baby just to prove it to them. No, it was subconsciously there, I guess. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to be a dad so bad and be a good dad to fill the void that I had.
And also
I
to
guess.
like, I know it is that. I think it
Yeah.
was also to like be like, you know what? My parents were the way they wanted to because that it wasn't circumstances. It was because they chose to be like that.
Yeah.
Y yo quiero ser a better parent to my
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, and then I always wanted a big family.
Your kids are growing up. Nos cuentas that your oldest is 8, 7, 6, y 4. What has it been like, you know, when it comes to like you telling them about you wearing makeup? ¿Te miran el maquillaje?
Yeah.
Preguntan, or what was it like when they first started asking?
Well, to be honest, I don't think they've ever really asked like that. Honestly, it's kind of normal because I've been doing this for 10 years. So literally, to be honest, there was never like questions. I mean, obviously they would say like my son the other day said, "Oh, boys can't wear makeup." And then I looked at him and I said, but he was listening to somebody else say that. And I said, "But daddy wears makeup, remember?" And then he said, "Yeah, but dad does it for work." You know what I mean? Because, so I've never even told them that.
Yeah.
But ya sabe, you know, because
yeah.
it's so normal for them. Because I don't look like this outside of work.
Yeah.
I literally created a business because I'm good at what I do and I want to make money the best way that I know how.
And I think it's very normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like los niños no tienen la culpa because even me, you know, like I'm always not in glam. But when I am, I feel like even with los hijos de mis amigas, siempre, me acuerdo que apenas recently, maybe like last year, not that recent, but like a year ago, my friend was telling me que su hijo le preguntó que por qué yo me maquillo. Que si el maquillaje es para las mujeres, que por qué yo siempre ando maquillado. Keep in mind that they never see me like this. They see me with a little bit of concealer para que cubran las ojeras y ya. And I remember I told her, I was like, oh my God, like, what did you say? And she was like, honestly, as a parent, I didn't know what to say. I just said that, you know, you love what you do and this is something that you like doing. And if it's what you like, then it's okay. But it is a very, you know, hard situation to be in, especially with kids, because uno tiene el miedo de decir the wrong things or they're scared to, like, you know, decir una cosa que the kid might take it wrong. Was that ever a convo between you and your wife that you guys had?
No, it hasn't came up, but what has came up was my son. Literally, we were driving and there was a gay dude on the street. He had makeup on, right?
Like full glam?
Sort of. But obviously, obvio, he was gay and the way he was walking, the way todo, you know, and he had makeup. And my son said, I think he giggled, right? I think he giggled or something. And I turned around and I said, what? And he's like, oh, that boy's wearing makeup. And I looked at him and I said, remember, what does daddy do? Yeah, but daddy's makes it for work. So, but then I turned it around and I told him, I said, no, because his name's Noah. Yeah. So I said, no, I was like, makeup's for everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm programming them to have a different mindset now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I am not going to teach them to be disrespectful to people. I don't care how different you are. Yeah. I don't like the term weird.
Yeah.
It offends me. So like when people say, oh, that's weird, or you're weird, or our scenario's weird, you know, I get that a lot. And I say, no, it's different.
It's different, yeah.
It's different. It's not weird, motherfucker. You know what I mean? And so that's why I told my son, I said, no, they're not weird, papi. It's they like what they like, and that's okay. Yeah. You know, and I told him, because, I don't know, he wanted something pink, and I said, you wanted that pink thing, right? I was like, but that's not nice if someone says it's weird.
Se las volteas.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like, so you can have, and I told him, you can have the pink one too. You know, like, and sometimes, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes we're like, oh, do you want the black one?
Yeah.
Or and he'll say, oh, I want the pink. And I forget. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to program because look at me. I'm so different.
Yeah.
You know, how can I tell him no to pink?
As a parent, do you get judged a lot by like other parents or people just on social media because of that?
Definitely by trolls.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what's funny though is now that I'm successful, I don't get it as much. I had a recent thing with my daughter. So my daughter's 8, right? And so she was asking me, because when I drop them off at school, I drop them off. I just drop them off and they go into on the blacktop. And for days she was asking me, and she was like, Dad, can you please drop me off on the blacktop?
Yeah.
But in order to do that, I would have to take off my other daughter and then park the car. And parking is horrible. And I was like, no, baby, next time. And I kept doing that to her, you know, like, no, because I have to take your sister off. And then, you know,
una
por
chinga.
eso,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And I was like, no, baby, go ahead. I'm going to watch you, you know. So for days and days and days. Finally, like the 4th, 5th day, she asked me in a row. She was like, Dad, it's because everybody wants to see you at school.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And she's like, everybody sees the
que eres
TikToks.
famoso.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they want to meet my dad. And I'm like, well, what? Like,
how did that make you feel?
It made me feel amazing because no lie, I have always been scared that, you know, the teachers and like students, I would hear, they would tell me, oh, I see you on TikTok. Oh my gosh, I love your stuff, which is great. But it was the students that I was afraid of.
Yeah.
But to be honest, they don't get bullied over it. They actually get praised. And the kids come up to me and they're like, hi, I see you on TikTok. Oh my gosh. You know, like they're fanning out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl, like these little kids are watching my video. And it's cool because I'll come home or my wife will send me pictures or videos like of like real time. And my kids are at home watching my videos.
Aww.
Like they're watching them, you know? And I'm like, what? Like what? And they've seen them.
Yeah.
So I tell them.
Or they live them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, baby, why are you watching the video? Oh, because I like it.
Aww.
I'm like, okay, all right. Like they accept me, they love it, and thank God they're not getting bullied for it.
Y eso es lo
and they
bueno.
like it, you know.
Y honestamente, amigas, si ustedes tienen a sus hijos allá en casita, por favor, even if they don't have anyone in their life that like might look like us, you know, that might, you know, be different, not weird, different. En verdad que sí, enséñenles, amigas, a aceptar a todo tipo de persona, porque en verdad que sí, luego va uno al mundo and they do realize que no nomás la gente es como ustedes son en casa. Hay mucha gente que, you know, they're different, les tienen gustos diferentes, and that's okay. And I feel like all that really does start with at home. You know what I mean? So if you as a parent aren't, you know, telling your kids any of this, that's when they go out and become bullies and they become these people that are negative in society. You know, quiero hablar de tu carrera online. Nos cuentas que tú ya tienes años haciendo esto. Obviamente ahorita te miramos, como dice tu hija, famoso, te miramos everywhere, pero no siempre fue así. Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso. How did you start, or what made you start creating content?
So actually, the jobs weren't it for me.
Okay.
United Healthcare, I was depressed as shit. The Sephora, I was having to sell shit that I didn't believe in, you know, for goals. And I loved doing makeup on other people, but I also wanted to do it on myself to teach people, you know? And so literally I started YouTube. I was doing really amazing on YouTube for a while, but then I became inconsistent, so it flat down. So no longer I was getting pushed out or whatever, so I stopped. I went into Instagram, and so I've been doing it for like 10 years now. I didn't pop off until a year and a half ago. So literally, I wanted to quit. I always wanted to quit, not because I wanted to, but because I wasn't getting anything out of it. It wasn't happening. It wasn't my time. It wasn't my time.
Especially with you trying for almost 10 years. You're like, wait, no, esto nunca va a pasar.
Exactly. And I was like, people don't like me, you know, I'm fat, whatever the case was. And it wasn't until I lost weight. So once I did my therapy, did all that, then I went into I did the gastric sleeve, right? I felt ready to do it. And after I did that, I started to take the content more serious.
You were more confident too,
More
maybe.
confident. Yeah. And then I started to talk about my mental health and talk about what I personally was going through. I did story times, things like that. And all my mental health ones, like where I'm talking about like what's happening to me in my life and etc., were my viral videos. So once I figured that out, I was like, oh, people want to see that.
Yeah.
So I just continued.
Yeah,
the real shit.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see the fake shit. Oh my God, look at that. You know,
Yeah.
they don't want to see that. They want to see real shit. And, you know, times change. You know, there's that era where people wanted to see those bomb-ass
makeup,
YouTubes.
yeah.
The makeup, the 2016 makeup, todo eso, right? But that wasn't the time anymore.
Yeah.
They wanted to see real life content.
So que ya fue como en el 2023 when you started transitioning your content?
Yeah, I would say like 2022, 23.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I started transitioning my content after my surgery. And then once they started going viral, then I was doing really well.
Yeah,
I was doing really well for a long time. But then my TikTok got banned at 300K.
I did hear that.
So
how was that for you? Obviamente, you were working your ass off.
Well,
to build
imagine
this
10
platform.
years and literally and on my last platform that I had, that's why I think TikTok plays sometimes.
Yeah, they do.
My last TikTok that I had, my last account, every video was on a roll. Every video was going and going and going and doing well. And I was going and going. Once that damn TikTok got banned and I created a new one, it was very different. Very different.
Like slow?
Slow. It was like a hit to my my confidence.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, I've been doing it for 10 years and then you take it away from me, like assholes.
You start doing social media. Was there ever people around you that were like, you know what, Junior? Mejor ponte a buscar un trabajo porque esto de las redes sociales no van a servir para ti.
A lot of family. Like, what are you doing? Like type of thing. Of course, the common comments we all get, like, oh, is that a real job? Like, can you make money out of it? And I knew. That's why I sticked with it for 10 years, because I knew I needed to be in this space. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew right off the bat.
And you also knew how lucrative. Did you know how lucrative it was, even if it
I
wasn't
didn't know how
happening to you?
lucrative it was, but now I do, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to do it because it was like something I enjoyed.
You enjoyed, yeah.
Like I said, it wasn't meant. I didn't mean for it to happen, and it happened.
Yeah.
And like that quote. I don't know if you've heard that viral quote that goes around with Judge Judy. It says the best thing in life that you can do, or something like that. And she says, if you didn't make it in your 20s, you can make it in your 30s. Right?
Yeah.
And then she has another one that said, the best thing you can do in life is find something that you're good at.
Yeah.
And make a living out of it. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
And I'm glad that it's working out for you, even if it took you so long. Yo siempre digo, amigas, el success nunca te va a llegar a tu puerta inmediatamente. And if it does, si así de rápido llega, así de rápido se va. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like success comes very gradually. Even though you don't see the growth, it is happening. You know what I mean? Because even if you weren't getting more followers, your techniques and just the way you were producing these videos are probably getting better and better as time was going, Because, como te estaba comentando, yo también siempre lo digo, amigas, I've been doing not just social media, but I've been doing Noche de Pendejadas for the past 5 years. There was times, estaba comentando a Junior, there was times where I wanted to stop with the podcast because le ponía mucho tiempo, mucho esfuerzo y no pegaba, right? Like, if I would have stopped, like, the way I like to analyze things, if success is here, if you stop here, you're never going to be able to, like, get to success. Solo una cosa que yo siempre digo, no matter what you're doing, whether it's social media, whether it's a career that you're going to school for, sigue luchando, amigas, porque un día va a pasar.
It will have to pay off.
Yeah.
But I will say, I don't think I would have been successful if I didn't get the surgery.
Quiero platicar de eso. En el 2022, you get weight loss surgery. You got the gastric sleeve. Mm-hmm. Cuéntanos un poquito de eso. What kind of inspired you to go through that route? ¿Y cómo fue todo eso? El proceso, the surgery day, the recovery. Cuéntanos.
So actually, it was very, very spontaneous.
Okay.
I found this surgeon in Tijuana. It was something I already knew I wanted to do, but I knew I needed to do the therapy first, I said. So after I did the therapy, I went on Facebook and I searched bariatric, gastric sleeve. I actually had the whole proceso aquí in San Diego. I did it, but they wanted me to do a 4-week liquid diet.
Oh, shit. Oh, hell no. I was only able to do like 2 days, and that's crazy. 4 weeks?
Yeah, so for the insurance that I had or whatever they said, or their requirement for that clinic, they said 4-week liquid diet. I did 1 week and I stopped.
It's intense. Hard. I feel like people don't realize how intense that is.
It is. It's so hard. And so I did a whole process for a whole year, and then they denied my surgery because I failed the liquid diet. So then I tried the liquid diet again. I failed again because it's so long. You cannot do a damn liquid diet for that long. It's so hard. So anyway, so I started doing my research, found a doctor in Tijuana that had a lot of reviews and etc. So I ended up booking with them, contacting them, got a consultation first. I did all of that stuff. And so I had to pay out of pocket. It was like $4,300.
Oh, te salió bien.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And so I knew that it was going to be life-changing because I'm not saying I fixed what I needed to fix. I just had peace with what happened. So I was in a better time in my life, and I knew this is what the next step that I needed to do. So I did it, did the surgery, loved it. I saw results maybe like 2 months later. Started dropping weight like crazy. Then I started to love myself. I was like, my God, yeah, it happened so fast. It happened so fast, but not too fast.
But so slow.
Exactly. Yes. I know. It doesn't make sense,
I feel like
but it
now
makes sense.
sitting here, I feel like now I'm like, oh my God, you guys, the process isn't that crazy. Pero cuando lo estás viviendo, when you're on those, 4 or 5 weeks where you can't eat solids, you're like, I know, eso se está yendo muy despacio.
Yeah.
But when you get through that point and you see results, you're like, no, güey, lo hago otra vez, chingue su madre.
Exactly, yeah. I want to do it again.
Yeah. How? Again?
I do, yeah. You can
¿Vas
get
a
a mini.
desaparecer?
No, well, it's because I gained like 25 pounds now. Okay. But it's normal. I guess like I'm at my new normal weight.
Like your new normal,
yeah. But I would like to lose like 15 more pounds.
How was it like the day of surgery though? Like, were you scared? What was going through your head?
No, I was ready.
You're like,
I was ready. No, yeah. I said, hurry up. Like they're taking too long to get me, the pre-op room and all that. I was like, fucking put me to sleep already.
Did people like around you ever judge you? Like, no te hagas eso. Mejor vete al gym.
No, you know what? I didn't tell many people.
Okay.
I didn't. I was paying for it myself, and my family is the way that they are, so I didn't tell them. I told like my closest cousins, they knew about it and all that. But it wasn't hard for me. I really could do it again if I wanted to.
I feel like for me mentally, it wasn't really like a hard surgery. For those of you guys that are new followers of myself as well, si ustedes no saben, amigas, every time I post like a full body picture, the freaking thing on TikTok, the search bar is Alannized fat or Alannized before and after. Obviamente mucha gente no sabe que yo antes pesaba tanto. I had gone years of like going through weight loss journeys porque yo subí y bajaba mucho.
Yeah.
Like I would lose 100 pounds, gain them. Lose 100, gain 150. Like it was always like a constant battle. But when I finally was like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking do it. Siento que me cambió la vida. ¿Cómo sientes tú que te cambió a ti la vida, your surgery?
It changed my life. I am so happy. Like, I'm very happy. But there's also like that, after I lost a lot of weight, I got unhappy again. But not because of the surgery, but because I had skin colgado.
Okay,
and I wasn't gonna look like my normal self, like my skinny self.
Did you have like a smooth recovery when it came to your weight loss surgery?
My recovery was amazing. I had no issues. I actually ate solid foods maybe 2 weeks after my surgery, but little bits like
huevo,
like just to get the craving, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like I ate like one noodle and chopped it very just to get like the sabor, and I didn't throw it up. It wasn't until like I tried to start eating like too much.
Where it got crazy.
Yeah, and then I started throwing up, and things like that. But
I like talking about weight loss surgery because I feel like it's like a surgery that has become very popular recently. I mean, it's always kind of existed, but I feel like it's become very popular, and I feel like a lot of people, watch these videos and even might watch this video and might be like, ay no, pues yo también voy a hacer mi appointment para quedar delgadito. But it does come with a lot, just as much as it comes with a lot of positives, it also comes with a lot of negatives. What do you feel have been like the negatives, or what do you think are the downsides of weight loss surgery?
I'm so traumatized of getting big again. I think that's my biggest one. For about weight loss surgery, it's that. It's the getting big again. And when I gained the 25 pounds back, I freaked out. And I called the doctor and I was like, excuse me, like, what the, you
Ya
know?
no está sirviendo.
No, tengo que hacerlo otra vez, you know? But no, they're like, no, you will gain 10 to 15% of whatever you lost. So however much you lost, you're going to gain back, and that's normally going to be your normal weight again. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine, you know? But that's the thing for me is like I kind of am traumatized of like the scale going up and up and up.
I feel like, you know, mucha gente siempre dice that weight loss surgery is the easy way out. And although it is easy physically, I feel like weight loss surgery is very hard mentally. Like you don't get, nadie te prepara para to go under and then wake up with your stomach being the size of a banana. Did they show you cómo estaba tu estómago? Lo que
Hell yeah, they blew it up and everything.
It's so crazy. Yeah, they blow it up. And then they do testing on it. It's so fucking crazy, you guys. If you've ever gone through weight loss surgery, you know what we're talking about. But it is very intense mentally. Not only are you always like, oh my God, I hope I'm not eating too much. Or even then, I feel like now, you know, obviamente antes cuando yo empecé, I feel like I never really update people. But when I first started, I think my first meal was actually a taco. My first meal I had my surgery November 17 or November 12, no me acuerdo exacta. So I got it like a week before Thanksgiving. So I was watching everyone fucking eat it up. Christmas también. I waited until New Year's where I had my first taco. I took one bite.
Yeah.
One bite y yo sentía el pinche taco hasta acá. Sentía que lo iba a escupir. I felt really bad. But even now, one thing I always say when it comes to mental, I feel like we get too into our head. Now me puedo chingar un taco y medio, dos si tengo mucha hambre. But even when I eat those 2 tacos, I feel guilty. Does that happen to you?
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh my God, te estás pasando de verga, ya estás comiendo igual que antes.
Like even now, like I can only eat 1 taco.
Okay.
You know, and I eat very little, like, to be honest. I eat a lot, though. I eat like 5 times a day, but I eat like a little bit, you know, and I get hungry very quick. But I do get like that guilt, that feeling, you know. But at the same time, I'm like, chingado, I want to live, you know, as well. Like, I want to I don't want to have to be so strict on myself. But I don't know. It's that love and hate.
Una cosa que yo siempre digo, and one thing I always, even to the people that ever ask me for advice, you know, when I first started looking into the surgery, yo me acuerdo, shout out to Adam. He was actually one of the people that kind of pushed me to getting it because I was seeing his weight loss journey. Pero me acuerdo que cuando yo empecé como a averiguar and kind of like look into it, yo me acuerdo that I got really scared because I remember I hanged out with Adam maybe like a month or 2 after he had his weight loss surgery. Y me acuerdo que fuimos a comer, literal, a un restaurante aquí cercas, and he was eating beans. Y literal se comió una cucharada de frijoles y andaba de que, ay, me duele, estoy bien lleno. So when that happened, I was like, ay, no, Polorma. Yo no puedo estar así, chinga su madre. I'm going to continue being big. Like, fuck that. And it wasn't until I gained another, like, fucking 70 pounds where I was like, ya, te estás pasando de lanza, Lancito, ya. Si no te pones las pilas, go get the surgery. And I remember before I actually went through with my surgery, I was constantly asking people that had their surgery. I would always be like, hey, how many months out are you? And they'd tell me, I'm like, ¿y cuánto puedes comer? Am I going to be able to eat at least a taco again? Am I going to be able to eat this or eat that? And I think for a long time, even when I was going through my recovery, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to eat. But honestly, when you have the surgery, you guys, even if you eat that 1 taco, it makes you feel the same as if you've had 20 fucking tacos.
And not only that, it taught me discipline, but it taught me, like, bitch, we eat too much out here. Like, people don't really know that you should not be
¿Cuánto
eating.
te chingabas antes? Like, how many tacos?
Like 5 tacos, 6 tacos, and then arroz con frijoles 2 veces, you know.
And then it's like, give me a 5-minute break. Y puedo seguirle.
Exactly. And it's funny, and that's like part of our culture, right? But that's why a lot of us in this world are just big, you know, and it's unhealthy, you know, and I'm not fat shaming, but it's la verdad.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and once I got the surgery and realized, like, my doctor was like, you don't need to eat that much. It's just you're so used to it. You expanded your stomach so much that's what you're used to. So now you got to upkeep it. And and my doctor explained to me, he was like, that's how literally. That's why you're not able to lose weight. Yeah. And he was like, 9 times out of 10, obese people do not succeed in surgery because their stomach is so expanded. Yeah. And the surgery is just help. It's just to manage and to, You know, it's like a physical limitation.
Yeah, there is a lot of downsides to it. You know, there's a lot of medicals. There's people that like go through that get things because of the surgery. You know, there's people like myself. I've lost a lot of hair. Did that happen to you? ¿Perdiste pelo?
I did lose a lot of hair when I got the surgery. Other than that, I haven't had any issues. I've had a really good time. I didn't get the dumping syndrome. I didn't get like any of the other crazy things. Or I hear some stories, don't get me wrong. Like some people can no longer like digest right. But a lot of those things are the one with the gastric. No.
The other one, the gastric bypass.
Bypass.
Because it's more intense.
It is. They're cutting your actual tubes and everything and reconnecting them. This one is not, you know, that's why they say the safest one is this one.
You know, obviamente, you opened up about this online. Did people ever judge you because you quote unquote took the easy way route?
Oh yeah, even to this day.
Sentir?
Even to this day, like I posted like a shirtless picture, you know, and people are like, oh yeah, because of the money, or oh because of the surgery, oh. You
I always be like, ya quisieran a ver ustedes saquen el puto dinero, a ver,
yeah, if you could,
madre.
you would too, baby. You know what I mean? Like, don't hate on people, you know? And it's not the easy way out. Oh my God, you know how much I had to struggle just to even get to the point to get the surgery? Like, I had to do mental shit. That's hard. You know, like mental shit, like, and to upkeep it, that's harder.
Exactly. Porque no, yo pienso que la gente estúpida que nomás habla por hablar, que no saben en verdad how things work, you know, tienen este connotation of like, ooh, they got surgery and they're going to always be thin because their stomach is like this. No, amigas. El cuerpo humano is going to get used to your stomach being that small that even if like you only eat, ponle que half the burger to your little tiny stomach over time, that's almost going to be equivalent if si te hubieras chingado hasta una o dos hamburguesas because that's the new normal for your stomach. Y por eso hay mucho reboto. Es una cosa que también pasa mucho. It's a tool. Yo pienso que gente piensa que no, te vas a operar y ya vas a quedar Barbie for the rest of your life. It's a tool. Si no la sabes usar, if you go back to your old habits, me dijo mi doctor, te dan 1 año. Este tool trabaja solo 1 año. So, si en ese año quieres tragar como puerco, pues todo ese año vas a bajar porque your stomach is so small. After a year, ya es cuando empieza tu stomach kind of like be like almost back to like normal, or your body starts thinking, you know, your stomach's always been like that. Y si empiezas a comer mucho, empiezas a subir. Y yo pienso que es lo que la gente no comprende, que it is a very mental, and it also along the lines becomes a physical battle too. You know, nos cuentas de que you get this weight loss surgery, you know, and you lose a lot of weight. Y en el proceso, another insecurity comes along, que viene siendo the loose skin, you know, el pellejo acá. Hace poco, you know, you get a BBL, lipo, and a tummy tuck. Cuéntanos un poquito de eso. What made you be like, you know what, I'm going to go under again para quitarme esto porque no me siento bien? How was that recovery? Cuéntanos todo eso.
So when I got my first daddy makeover, that's what I call it, is my daddy makeover. I went in a year and a half after my my weight loss surgery. And so I went to go get a consultation. Wifey actually got her surgery first. Okay. So I already knew. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get a consultation too. So the doctor was like, okay, well, you got to wait another like 6 months, you know, because you're continuously losing weight and etc. And I was depressed. Like, don't get me wrong. I was so happy that I lost so much weight, right? But that also brought the insecurity of like my boobs falling down, my stomach's falling down. And then I had mi culo, my ass, looked like a grandpa's ass. Yeah. Se colgó, you know what I mean? And that was it was a big insecurity. Yeah. And so I was like, I look, I feel skinny, but I don't look like I'm skinny.
And with clothes, I look good.
With clothes, I look good. Pero también with clothes, you can see the extra, you know, todo. Yeah. And so I was very insecure, and I told wifey, I was like, look, you're getting your surgery this year, and I'll get mine next year then, you know. She understood, she accepted it, and I did it, you know what I mean? And my recovery was honestly not hard.
Your pain tolerance is high then.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but I guess so. But yeah, even my surgeon, he was like, you heal so quick and you're up, you're walking, you're like walking straight. Like, how the hell you just had a tummy tuck and you got, you know, everything else.
Yeah.
You know what was hard? It wasn't physical because I could walk. I was doing everything. You know, I was, you know, I was good. What was hard was the mental for me. It was more of like I got really emotional because I didn't see my body until like maybe 2 to 3 days after the surgery.
Okay.
Because I was wrapped up y todo. And I went to the house of the Recuperación, you know. And so I was there and they showered me there. So I got undressed and I saw my body and I bawled my eyes out. Because for the last like decade, I was like big. I was humongous. And for me, that wasn't normal, you know. And so for the last decade, I was really big. And it just literally, when I saw my body, it was like a new me, like a new beginning. Because I allowed my depression to take a toll on it. I allowed it to linger on for 10 years. That's horrible, you know, in my opinion. That was horrible for me. And so when I saw my body, I bawled my eyes out. I had my moment. And
was that the first time you
got it?
That
was my first surgery. Okay. Yeah, that was my first surgery. And it was a big shock, you know. And so I loved my body then.
You got it again, apenas?
Yeah, so the second one that I got was just lipo and BBL. So that was it. So lipo and BBL. The first one was very natural for the BBL. And I didn't want it to have like a big ass. I wasn't trying to get a Nicki Minaj ass because that's what a lot of the comments were saying. They're like, oh, you want to look like Nicki Minaj with your kids and this and that. You know, todos los pinche comments. No, I wanted it to just be lifted and look full. Youthful. Yeah. Just you look like my age, you know what I mean? Like, because it literally looked like a diaper, you know? And I was like, no. But, so I did the second round, lipo. I loved it. I didn't like my butt, to be honest, but now I do. The only thing I don't like, to be honest, is my hips.
Like it's
they gave me a little bit
hourglass vibes?
Yeah. So I didn't want that. But I am gonna go for a third round.
¿Qué te vas a hacer?
I'm not gonna do BBL, but I'm gonna have
lipo.
I'm gonna have lipo taken out of my just like right here, the hips. That's it. Because my butt has finally what do they call it?
Like settled.
Settled and it's fine. I like my butt. I just don't like the hips part. You know, it's a little too feminine.
So the recovery was good porque ya estás listo para ir otra vez.
Second round, I was up again. I literally saw,
I think 2 weeks after your second surgery when you got your BBL, tummy tuck, and lipo, 2 weeks later, ya estaba sentado on a chair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was fine. And I loved it. The only thing I didn't like the second, well, it's not that I didn't like the surgery because he did amazing. Yeah. It's just I was so big. So like my chest, I need to do again. But I have, I'm 90% sure I have gynecomastia. ¿Sabes qué es eso?
No, ¿qué es?
So it's like the boob part where when you're really big, it's man boobs, basically.
Okay,
So el lipo no va sacar. So it's like the pocket fat that we have. Oh. So what they do is they open the areola and they take out. It looks literally like a chicken patty. It's fat that cannot be taken out, and it's todo esto.
Y luego te lo cosen para atrás.
Yeah.
They flatten it out y te
they
cosen
flatten
para
out and everything. So I need that, and it's an insecurity of mine, so I'm gonna do that.
I feel like it is very common. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like again, it is a very mental journey to go through because even me, you guys, yo me siento y me miro bien, pero igual como tú. I think yo todavía haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go in for my tummy tuck or a BBL, and it's something that I've always talked about. But for whatever reason, I feel like when I lost weight, I don't know if it was because my body was so used to me always like losing a lot of weight drastically, or I don't know what the fuck it was, but like I feel like sí que no les voy a mentir, sí tengo la piel flácida, mira, aquí la tengo. Cuando me levanto como que me estiro bien and everything just kind of falls perfectly, pero sí tengo a little loose skin, pero igual como tú, ahorita one of my biggest insecurities is my ass. Porque igual de guango como me quedó el estómago, me quedó el culo. Sí. So like I do want to get a BBL, but it is something that scares me because I've seen BBLs are very hard to recover from. And then also to me, I feel like one of the major reasons why I've kind of have held off from getting like a tummy tuck or not even a BBL, a tummy tuck is because I'm like, okay, voy a, cortarme los pellejos, they're gonna sew me back up, voy a quedar plano. Pero yo sé, digo, ¿sabes qué? Uno como humano never is content. My next insecurity is gonna be my scars. Y lo sé.
Yeah.
Y lo sé. So that to me, I was like, no, todavía, you can still look good. Even though, like, a veces cuando me miro naked, I'm like, oh, you look skinny. But I'm like, ay, no, me acuerdo cuando estaba joven y estaba flaquito, todo estaba good. Is that something that you suffer from? Not suffer, but is that something that, like, goes on in your head?
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, the scars have now become also, like, an insecurity?
So, my scars, actually, I don't care for because I don't show them. So, I don't wear, like, anything that shows them. So, I already knew. So, with the scar thing my doctor was like, the more the more bent over you stay, the longer period while you heal, the minimal scar you're going to have. I couldn't take it. So, my back was killing me. So I wasn't in pain from the surgery, but it was the back
Como
pain.
soreness.
Because you're bent over the whole time. So I already knew I was going to have a scar and I was fine with it. My scar is pretty wide. It's not an insecurity because it's covered all the time for me. So other than that, it's just more about being perfect. You know, it's more about mental. It's all about
never
mental.
being happy with yourself. I think it is that.
To be honest. And then especially going from how big we were to finally, we get a taste of, we can look
good,
amazing now.
good,
we're feeling ourselves now. So you always want, y por qué no?
Yeah.
That's my mentality too. But then at the same time, it causes those mental mind fuck.
What piece of advice can you give to someone who is currently struggling with, like, weight problems and are maybe thinking of going through, the surgery route, or just in general, alguien que está batallando because of their weight?
Well, first of all, if you're going to do any surgery, you want to do it because you want to do it, and if you're unhappy, but you just got to think about it, don't just do it. Don't just go with the hype because everybody's doing it. I did it because I knew it was going to be life-changing for me. I knew, even though however hard it was going to be, thank God it wasn't for me, but I was ready for it. I was preparing. I was like, oh my God. I was preparing years. Yeah. I already knew I was going to get a whole makeover. I already knew. I just didn't know when,
You're waiting for the right time.
Yeah, I was waiting for the right time. And so for any of you out there that want to do the surgery route, make sure that you want to do it for you and only you. And just know that it comes with pros and cons, baby. You want to look snatched, I get it. But it also comes with those cons. So that's my advice to people, and do your research. Do not go to any damn doctor, no matter how cheap it is, okay? Yep. I know I got my surgery in Tijuana, but my surgeon actually used to be in San Diego, and he moved to Tijuana for other reasons.
Sí viene con muchas cosas negativas, igual que las positivas, amigas, but do your research. Ya quiero platicar del último tema. Del último tema que tenemos aquí el día de hoy. Quiero hablar of you being a business owner. Tienes tu marca de maquillaje, Bad and Bougie Beauty, que tienes everything from lipsticks, face palettes, lashes, de todo. ¿Cómo empezó eso? What made you be like, you know what? Me gusta el maquillaje, pero quiero hacer más con eso. I want to start my own business. How did all that start? Cuéntanos.
So my business, Bad and Bougie Beauty, here it is. I brought you this.
A mí me encantan los regalitos, amigos.
Ándale.
Ay, está pesada, ¿eh? Aquí está llena esta cajota.
Okay, it's big, okay? I filled it up. The reason why I've always wanted to have my own business once I got into the beauty space, right? But with the 10 years that I was on YouTube and Instagram and it never popping off for me, it was always a dream. I said, oh my God, I want to have my own brand, etc. And so once I started to hit off on social media, I was like, you know what? I need to make residual income for my kids and for me. And not only that, it gave me the leeway to leave my 9-to-5 job, to pursue doing makeup and hair full time and be a content creator full time. And I started 3 years ago to take it really seriously. And I've been successful with my brand ever since then. So I didn't pop off until a year and a half ago, pero that's how my brand came about. And it was very hard. It was so hard. I couldn't get any loans because my credit was not good. And so everything is funded by me, literally.
How did you come up with the name Bad and Bougie Beauty?
Because it's me. It's me.
It's
like
you and
I'm
a
very
brand.
extra.
Yeah.
I'm very extra. And when it comes to beauty, I love pink.
Yeah.
So if it's anything beauty, I love pink. I love how it looks. It's girly. And then I also, it's very millennial. It's very youthful. It's very, you know what I mean? And the Bad and Bougie just came because it came up in my head and I was like, Bad and Bougie Beauty.
And it goes really good. It goes on brand, the marketing, the color scheme, todo en verdad que sí goes back to you.
Yeah, and before it was Bad and Bougie, I tried to do it 2020, COVID years. I tried to do it 2020. It failed. Okay. Because I wasn't out there like that. I wasn't taking it serious. And my numbers weren't good, and etc. And it failed. It was called J Boss Beauty for junior, and then Boss Beauty. And then I wanted to do a whole rebrand, because I was in the swap meets. So I started in the swap meets. I started doing all of that, trying to do lives and all of that. And it is what it is now.
Hablas de los en vivos. Yo pienso que that has been a huge part of the success of your business. Porque cada vez que me sales in my For You page or just in general on TikTok, you're live selling your products.
Yes.
And I feel like it really does give a live interaction with your customers to you. Do you feel like lives was a big reason why your business popped off? Or if not, what was the reason why you feel like your business popped off?
I think it's the relationship with my customers and my culeras. I call them culeras. So they gave themselves their name. So I was on live and I had like thousands of them, and they're like, and I say culera a lot. So, I talk like that. And so it's all because of them, to be honest, because I have an amazing following. I might not have millions, but the ones that I have actually support me. Like, I have a community under me. And it's so surprising because, to be honest, it still amazes me every time I sell out or whatever happens. It just amazes me how they come through for me and my family. And you know what? They support me more because they see that I'm a strong, everything that I've been through. And also with my kids, and my family, they see that it's not just me, it's my family, and I'm doing it for my kids.
And at the end of the day, they get a badass product.
Exactly.
So it's like a 2-for-1. Te están ayudando a ti. They love supporting you, your family, and what you stand for. And they're getting a product that they can use to make themselves feel even more beautiful than de lo que ya están. Quiero platicar a little bit about the business aspect. Obviamente, we see Bad and Bougie Beauty being successful, pero no siempre fue así, ¿verdad? Como cada negocio, I feel like there's failures and hardships. Did you have a moment like that? Not for J Boss Beauty, but for Bad and Bougie Beauty, where you're like, you know what? Yo pienso que no vamos a salir adelante con este negocio. A la mejor aquí la dejamos.
You know what? I didn't realize. So my brand barely popped off a year and a half ago. And numbers have been great this year and last year, right? Taxes for me were where I was like, oh, I was making a lot of money, ooh. But then the taxes came in. And I was like, what the fuck? So the taxes for me was tricky because it's only me by myself doing everything practically. Wifey helps, with the brand and like packing and things like that, But it's me doing like all of this shit. That's what she helps with. But the behind the scenes, the actual business shit that's hard is the numbers, the quantities that I'm ordering. And then, yes, it's great when I sell out, but I didn't realize that when I sell out and make the numbers that I'm making, how much money I got to give away.
Yeah. Yo pienso que como cualquier negocio, I feel like you think que todo el dinero que entra es tuyo, pero it's like, no, mi amor, ya tiene dueño as soon as it fucking lands in your bank account.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And then there's so many gastos, so much more. Like now, yes, it costs so much to stay in stock.
Yeah.
And then I got to order so many quantities. And then, like, it's to the point where, like, a couple weeks ago when I had to pay, like, I think it was like, this year, earlier in the year, I had to pay, like, $15,000 in taxes.
El IRS,
El IRS.
O los pagas quarterly? Yeah.
No, but you see, look, that was just for the IRS, right? I didn't know that we got to pay the sales tax quarterly.
Oh, or the state tax y todo.
Aparte de eso. I was like, oh, okay, I'm done. Fuck no. I got an alert. I was like, no, I paid my taxes. They're like, no, you got to also pay into the sales tax too. What the fuck?
Honestly, there's nothing more rewarding than having
Yeah.
your own business, having something that you created from nothing to something and be like, you know what? Yo aquí mando, yo aquí hago todo. And I'm sure it's very like, you know what, rewarding at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's so rewarding because literally this is years of me like just working as a makeup artist, nail tech, doing all that, putting all my money into it. It's scary, especially I have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Like it's a luxury to be able to even do what I do. And I'm blessed. And that's why I always tell my followers always that I'm grateful for them because without them, I would not be able to do what I do.
Has there ever been, a product that you believed in that you're like, you know what, este va a ser my top seller, and then when you start selling it, it flopped?
No, to be honest, I haven't had that yet. So thank God, knock on wood.
Knock on it right now.
No, so everything that I've launched has sold
Qué
great.
bueno.
So
Gracias a
it's
Dios.
selling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just had like a lipstick issue, like maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, thousands of dollars. I had switched my vendors, right? Because I didn't, the formula that they were giving me that I wanted and we agreed on
And paid for. Yeah.
wasn't what I received in the bulk order. So my samples that I created and we created together, they're bomb. They're amazing. I did content with them. I did all of everything, right? So then I go and I start swatching them because I always like to do the swatches. I don't just grab them and then sell them.
Pa' que la gente lo mire, pues.
Sí,
Yeah.
and I'm going to film it now with the actual tubes y todo, no? And I go and they're sticky as hell. Like, como like chicle, like literally like my mouth was
bad
like.
quality.
Yeah, bad quality y todo. And so I'm fighting with my my manufacturer and I'm like, what is going on? I need to send them back. I'm rejecting them. And they didn't want to. They did not want to. They're like, no, we didn't do nothing wrong. Yes, clearly. Like I even sent them the sample,
videos and
the sample,
yeah.
the videos, the sound. I even sent them the actual formula, the ones that they sent me as a sample.
Yeah.
And I sent them the new ones. And I said, this is not correct. They just didn't want to give me any of the money. They didn't want to lose out. They're like, it's too much money for us to lose out on. Well, you fucking.
Yeah.
But like a dummy like me, I didn't know that there was insurance for that, and I didn't have it. So. I didn't do that, and so
Y
I lost
perdiste el
out.
dinero.
Thousands
I feel
of
like as a
dollars.
business owner, I feel like hay muchas situaciones donde, you have to take the L, but that's also a learning experience for you. Obviamente en ese tiempo, tú ni en cuenta que existían aseguranzas. You go through that, una pinche gran pérdida.
Sí.
But then you're like, ya sabes qué, they're never going to catch me like that because I got the insurance to back me the fuck up.
Yep.
Ya para terminar este topic about, your business and who you are as a business owner, what advice can you give to those starting a business y que a lo mejor se sienten como que it's never going to go anywhere?
It is going to go somewhere. It has to go somewhere as long as you put the work into it. Look at me, I'm 10 years in, and I always tell my wife, like, imagine if or my girlfriend. I call her my wife. So yeah, I always tell my girlfriend, like, imagínate if I didn't stop. I mean, if I did stop. When I wanted to stop, like all of this, like she doesn't work no more. Yeah. So I was able to take her out from work. And she helps me with the business. I was like, and we're able to be with our kids more.
Que es lo más importante.
Exactly, and I take my kids on trips now, like, and I'm not stupid with my money, like I am just doing things with them that I just want them to remember, I
Tienes
work
más
hard
libertad,
for. Sí, I have a lot of more free time now.
Y eso es lo bueno. Yo
Freedom.
pienso that that's the end goal as, business owner. Le chingas por muchos años para poder tener estos frutos que tú ahora estás teniendo. Si ustedes quieren ir a apoyar, amigas, a Bad and Bougie Beauty, que viene siendo la marca de él, ahí les voy a dejar linked down below as well as on the screen aquí ahorita como ustedes están mirando, so you guys can go ahead and shop all things beauty. But with that being said, thank you so much once again for being here with us today y sentarte con nosotros y platicar de todo lo que te ha pasado en la vida. And I really do hope que ustedes allá en casita también lo disfrutaron.
Thank you for having me.
With that being said, amigas, don't forget to go follow him on all social medias, which I'll leave down below as well as on the screen right here. Y no se les olvide seguirme a mí on all my social media so you guys won't miss any future episodes.
Thank you guys. Adios.
With that being said, amigas, espero muchísimo que les haya gustado el episodio del día de hoy. Please help me welcome closing tonight's show, Hugo Adrian!
Díselo, Hugo Adrián.
Es de noche el deportivo a alta velocidad, la que cuida fajada por si algo llega a pasar. Platicando de la vida junto a mi carnal, ¿a dónde voy a llegar? Cayó en el cerro el endavistar. Las envidias no han de faltar, pero eso aquí no preocupa, porque bendecido él está, la mano de Dios lo guía. Agradecido siempre va, la buena vibra contagia, inspiración es la que da, pues otro flow es el que trae. ¡Ay! Rásquele al requinto, compadre. Y es su bros, Hugo Adrian. Brothers, Otro flow music. Con cadenita y outfit tranquilón, sin mirar marcas él anda finón, pone presencia donde anda el señor. Círculo cerrado, gente de confiar, los que se voltearon aquí no entran más, buscando contacto se van a quedar. Las envidias no han de faltar, pero eso aquí no preocupa, porque bendecido él está, la mano de Dios lo guía. Agradecido siempre va, la buena vibra contagia, inspiración es la que da, pues otro flow es el que trae. Otro flow es el que trae.
Papi, lo dije antes y lo digo ahora. Estamos presentando todos los fenómenos, papi. Hugo Adrián, el nuevo fenómeno en la música, papi, para que lo sepas. Nos fuimos. ¿Qué fue? Dímelo, Periquin, el verdadero money maker.